Morning. How are you doing today? I hope you're well. Can I only confirm that you can see my screen and just confirm briefly what you can see on my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your screen. NGO, non-governmental organization. Maybe, please, you can put it on projection mode. Thank
All
you.
right, let's do this. All right, how about now, please? What can you see?
Yes, that's okay.
It's better now, right?
Yes, please.
All right, perfect. So let's get right into it. So this morning we want to talk about management and leadership in today's organization. Right. So, but before we get right into it, let me just ask a couple of questions to everybody on the call. Even if you say you don't have prior work experience, but at least the concept of way management is within the organization. What do you think when we say management and when we say leadership? What do you think those words mean? When we say management, when we say leadership, what do you think? What do you think those words mean? Anybody? How many people do we have in class? Well, not so much, so I expect that at least we have a lot of conversation around this. When you hear things like management, is part of the management. And when you hear, oh, these are the leadership here, what do you think those things mean? What do you think those terminologies mean? What do you think they're saying? Anybody? Just a quick intro about me. I love an interactive session because that's how I believe that we learn, and that's how some things will stick in our minds and in our brains. So anybody, what do you think management is? Just if you were to sum up what you think management or leadership mean in a sentence or in a word, what would you say? Anybody? We don't have wrong answers. Oh, I can see typing. Let me see. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? Anybody? We don't have wrong answers here, please.
Can I?
You can definitely answer.
Okay. For me, leadership is just be able to lead while others follow. While management is be able to move, let's say, a business or something from point A to point B to
From
achieve
point,
a goal.
from point A to point B. That's beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much for attempting that. Wells. In your own words, we don't have wrong answers. We don't have wrong answers. We don't have wrong answers. Anybody? Let's go. We don't have wrong answers here. Let's go. Anybody? I'll start calling names though. I'll start calling names. I don't want to call names.
Okay, then you
Good
Anybody?
can
morning, sir.
answer in the chat room.
Okay, let me see. Management, Azano Shadrach says management is all about organizing resources to achieve organizational goals, while leadership is about influencing people to achieve organizational goals. Thank you very, very much for that. I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs. Shadrach, so let me just say Shadrach. Thank you very, very much for that. Right, so I wanted to say something. So I wanted to say something. So I wanted to speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. I wanted to say that management, they focus on the processes, how to organize, plan, and control resources just to meet goals in an organization.
Okay,
While
okay.
leadership has to do with the vision. It's about the vision, the people, just inspire your followers just to meet or to get to that particular goal of an organization also.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. We've all said something very, very meaningful. We've all said something that points to who a leader should be, and what also management should also be, which is beautiful and which is lovely, right? But if we were to assign certain roles to this terminologies that we've been saying so far, we were to assign, roles and actors to these particular things, who in your organization would you say would be best suited to be called a leader? Or who would you say in an organization would be best suited to be called a leader? And who in an organization would be best to be called management? Right? Do you get that question? Who in an organization would you refer to as a leader, and who in an organization would you refer to as, part of the management?
Okay, for me,
Go ahead, please.
leaders. Okay, for me, in an organization, I can call someone a leader when he speaks and others follows, and
Hmm.
his own leadership also brings in result to bring in result. Why for management, I would say they are, according to the organogram of the organization, they are the top leaders in the organization.
Thank you very, 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 very much. Initially, I threw that in as a trick question, because some people will believe that because we said leadership and management, some people would cite as, okay, leadership should also be top management, which is definitely not correct. Right? But management is very, very important, like you said, in alignment with, the organogram and the hierarchical structure already laid down within an organization. Most organizations, we call them top management. Top management, most times we see the CEO there, the deputy chairman, or, the C levels, the CISO, the CEO, the CIOs, the COOs, the CROs, etc. Right? These are just, acronyms of who we call the people in organizations who we call top management, right? So that is beautiful. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. It's good that at least we have that understanding. It's good that we have those, insights within an organization. But before we also get right into it, I want us to also always understand the why, right? So why the why, meaning that why are we, talking about management and leadership in today's organization? And the best way to understand this is by answering this case study, right? Or answering this question. Within organizations globally now, right? What are some of the leadership challenges that, you know, I want you to speak specific to yourselves now, right? What are some of the leadership challenges you face currently at your workplace? You might not be working in a like an enterprise organization. Probably you work at I don't want to use, probably you also do work like in a place that is not an enterprise entity, right? Management, regardless of where you're working, right? We know that, management and leadership applies to all. You don't have to be a formal office, right? You could be working in the store, you have management there, your boss is your management, literally, right? So let's envision that case study. Let's envision that question that, what are some of the leadership challenges that you currently face in your workplace today? Anybody? Daniel says he can't hear me. Can any other person hear me?
I
Yes,
can
you're
hear you
loud
clearly.
and clear.
All right, thank you. Daniel, probably just, if you can type and tell him to please log out and log back in. So let's envision that. What are some of the leadership challenges that you face in your current workplace? What are some? What are some? What are some? I can tell you mine, right? Because I've been privileged to lead about, currently I've been privileged to lead about 10 teams within, my organization, right? So mine probably is, I would say, culture issues. That's one of the challenges that I currently face, right? Where I am, I would say cultural issues. But let me throw it to you now. What are some of the challenges that you face within your organization as of today? What are some of the challenges? Anybody?
Uh, yes, for me, not compliance issue by team
Non-compliance,
members.
non-compliance to policies, processes, or what?
The processes.
To processes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Mr.
All right.
Femi,
Yes, please go ahead.
your screen is not moving.
Oh, I haven't moved my screen yet.
Yes, please.
I haven't moved my screen yet,
No,
right?
no.
You can see I didn't move my screen intentionally. We're still,
Oh,
building foundation upon the course. That's why my
that's
screen
fine.
hasn't moved yet. Right? All right, good. So now Someone said non-compliance to policies within that has been set within the organization. Who else? Who else? What are some of the leadership challenges that you face currently in your workplace? Trust me,
Uh,
no organization is perfect. So I expect to even hear something. Go ahead, please.
okay, sir. Mine is poor communication. Communication is poor.
Poor communication. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Communication gaps. Can you lay more
Yes.
emphasis from, is it from the top down or when you say
Yes, from
communication?
the
Oh,
top down.
okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. All right. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? The reason why I'm saying this is because when we have discussions, you see that, most of the leadership issues that we currently face across the organization, you see that they are not new to your organization, or they are not specific, or better said, they are not unique to your organization. If we were to look at it critically, you'd see that these are some of the challenges that we all face in our organizations. Someone said non-compliance with policies as well by some of the subordinates. Trust me, that is 100%. Right, these are some of the challenges. These are some of the issues that we face. Sometimes, if you face staff attitudes, right? These are some of the things that we take into consideration, right? Sometimes you see situations whereby uh, I want to correct or I want to sanction you, but sanctioning you now brings about, a different attitude entirely within the organization, and then you start affecting our process workflow, which shouldn't be. Right, but these are some of the things that we take into consideration. And what we'll be doing today, or what we'll be doing, yes, what we'll be doing in the next 3 hours, 30 minutes, is to ensure that we have conversations around this. We have practical, insightful, theoretical conversations. So it won't strictly be theoretical, right? It will be practical because I would use myself primarily as a case study. And I'll also ask you and everybody on the call, because I want to believe that everyone here has some form of working experience. Like I keep saying, right? When I say working experience, I mean any work, right? I'm not just limiting it to you working for an enterprise, right? You could also be working for a small business. So, but these are the things that will ensure that we take into consideration, right? So good. These are some of the learning objectives that we will be talking about today. These are some of the learning objectives that we will be talking about today. As you can see, we'll talk about the role of management, the 4 types of planning, the primary functions of managers in organizing activities. We'll talk about how organizations control activities. We'll talk about what controls do managers take on in different organization settings, etc. These are some of the things that we'll be talking about in the next 3 hours. These are some of the things that we will be talking about. So I want to believe that at the end of this session, right, you would come to know and think or act like a modern manager, global modern manager, be it wherever you find yourself or in which continent you're currently listening to us from, right? So have it at the back of your mind that, at the end of this class, you would not just be uh, a subpar manager or a subpar leader, you'll be a great, great, great leader and also a great manager. Now let's get right into it. The next thing I want to talk about is the role of managers, right? The role of management. Very, very, very important. The next thing I want to talk about is the role of management. As you can see on the screen, right? It says management is the process of guiding the development, maintenance, and allocation of resources to attain organizational goals, right? But this is theoretical, right? This is just theoretical. If we were to bring this home, right? If we were to bring this home, if we were to bring this to our basic understanding or our basic knowledge, right? We could just say what? When we say management primarily is not just about, planning and giving instructions. I want to believe that we know it's not just limited to, oh, let's plan for the direction of our organization. No, 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 no. That's not the only thing that management will be doing, right? And it's not just, oh, I need you to do this. I need to do, I've assigned this work to you. I've assigned that work to you. I've assigned this work to you. I've assigned that work to you. That's not the entire concept of, who a manager should be or what management is. right? In reality, it's about, organizing people effectively, organizing processes effectively, organizing resources to what? Achieve results, to ensure that what? We achieve the intended direction of an organization, right? In fact, let me even say this. The primary or the predominant activity or the responsibility of management is to ensure that what everyone within the organization understands the vision of the organization, right? Everyone within the organization are following the right processes and procedures to ensure that the vision, the mission, and the value proposition of our organization is met, right? These are some of the things that management will do. If you have been tagged as a manager, for now, let me throw this real case study. Right? For now, everyone within an organization is thinking about, oh, it's the end of the year. Oh man, we need to go for Christmas break. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. That's what employees are thinking about, right? Our 13-month salary, oh, our bag of rice. These are some of the things that normal employees are thinking about. But management, this is not what we're thinking about, right? We're thinking about planning for 2026. In fact, our planning for 2026 already started last quarter, right? Already started last quarter, October, November, December. That's where strategic planning has already started, right? And so the thinking of management is entirely different. How do we achieve our goals? How do we achieve revenue? How do we ensure that we increase or we get more partnership? Do you get? These are some of the things that management bother themselves with, right? But I'm not saying that's the only thing they do. Those are more those are some of the activities that they have to ensure that they take into consideration, right? These are some of the things that they ensure that they take into consideration. So management primarily equals to coordinating people, coordinating processes, and also coordinating resources to achieve the organization or the enterprise goals. Are we together? These are some of the things
Yes,
that we ensure that we take into consideration. Right? Was that a question? I just wanted to unmute. Was that a question, or were you just answering me?
I was just answering, sir.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. All right, good. It's also very, very important that we have some of these things at the back of our mind. When we talk about managers as well, there are certain levels, if we were to put it in more practical terms, right? There are certain levels of managers in organizations, right? For example, if we use a bank, for example, if we were to use a bank, we know that, we know there are certain members of the management, but we also have it at the back of our mind that, there are also people called branch managers as well, right? So the context, right? If we're looking at it from a different perspective, you have to ensure that, it is context specific. What do I mean? Depending on the organization that you find yourself will determine, depending on the organization, depending on the culture of the organization will determine how or the terminology in which, management is used. In some organizations, management is used more loosely than others, right? So these are some of the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration, right? In some organization, in my organization now, we have, managers. We have, for example, we have the COO, we have the CEO, we have the director. We know that those people belong to the upper echelons of the management, right? We have the upper echelons of the management, and we have I don't want to use the term lower management, but we have people who we call leads, right? We have people who we also call leads in our organization who has also been given some form of authority, right? There is delegated authority on us to also ensure that we manage the organization, we manage the output and the outcomes of the organizations. I hope we are together. So, for example, in the bank, right, we know that there are certain examples of who the top echelons of management, and we also have people like the branch managers. We know the roles, the responsibility, the finances, they all differ, right? These are some of the things that we ensure that we take into consideration, right? So for example, for a branch manager in a bank, now what are some of the things that you're attached with? What are some of your responsibilities, right? To ensure that what you plan daily operations, as simple as that. You ensure that you organize what staff based on whatever criteria you're using within the organization, right? You ensure that you lead your team to meet what certain deposit targets, because these are some of the things that you will take into consideration. In other organizations, it might differ from this. This is me just trying to put it to your head that the term management or the term managers is something that would be context specific, right? It would take the culture of the organization. There's some people that you go to the organizations and managers are not, when you say you are a manager within the organization, most times they don't rate you. The only person they rate is the CEO. They say boss, there's boss, right? In some organizations, there's boss, there's boss pro max, right? In some organizations, your management on paper, right? Your authority don't really carry any weight. And these are just signs of an unhealthy organization. Are we together? These are just signs of an unhealthy organization. It's very, very important that we note these things. These are signs of an unhealthy organization, right? Let me give another perfect example, right? I've worked with an organization whereby we have an HR manager, right? And an HR manager will sanction employees, right? An HR manager will sanction employees, and HR manager would raise a query on an employee, probably for misconduct. Are we together? We will raise an issue or we will raise a query for misconduct, and you would see that the employee will go behind the HR to report to the CEO or to report to the CEO or director directly. And the CEO director would come back to overturn, right? Will come back to overturn the initiative or the query that the HR has given. All right. You would see that in that kind of scenario, that is just a perfect picture of an unhealthy organization. That's just a perfect example of an organization without structure. That's just an organization whereby management, does not carry weight. The term management is nothing to show for, right? And this is me telling you that, these are signs of an unhealthy organization. And this is a sign that, there needs to be a revamp in what organizational structure, the culture of the organization. These are things that we need to ensure that we take into consideration, right? These are things that we need to ensure that we take into consideration. So let's proceed. You can see managers are people in the organization responsible for developing and carrying out these management processes. These are things that we take into consideration. That's why I keep giving you real life, scenarios and real life terminologies, so that at least everything we're talking about today sticks, right? You go back to your organization and you know what to do, or you know how to do, right? Good. So there are four primary functions. There are four primary functions of managers, which is what I talked about when I utilized the branch manager activities, right? The four functions are to plan, to organize, to lead, and to control, right? Plan for daily operations, or plan for strategic insights within the organization. Organize what staff based on the different criteria that works within your organization. Lead your team effectively and ensure that you control processes, right? It could vary depending on the organization. Are we together? It could vary depending on the organization. It could vary. I mean, the processes, right? I used the terminology for a bank, but depending on your organization, you could use different terminologies or different processes, also processes, to align to these things, right? But these are some of the primary functions of a manager. If you're a manager here, these are some of the things that you do. You plan, you organize, you lead, you control, right? If we were to bring it home, if we were to bring it further home, right, with some of the things that I do, because I work for an IT consulting firm, right? And part of what I do is to plan. I plan, in fact, I do different plannings. I do strategic plannings, I do operational plannings, right? I plan for, the financial year 2026. I also plan for projects, right? Specific projects within the organization. I organize my team effectively and efficiently. I know who and who to be on certain projects, right? I have an ISO 27001 implementation. I know who and who to put. I have a VAPT, a VAPT engagement, I know who to put. I have a PCI DSS engagement. I know who and who to put. I know how to organize my people effectively and efficiently. I hope we have that at the back of our mind. I also lead effectively, right? There are certain situations whereby, leading is not just about giving out instructions. I think it's also very, very clear for us to also state that I have to lead you. I'll give you, I lead you. That's what you know. Sometimes leading also involves, showing, right? In some situations, in several situations, my team comes to me with respect to something that's not clear to them. I have to be able to, lead, train them, give them certain insights, give them certain strategic, workarounds to do certain things and certain initiatives that they want to do, but they're not, it's not been easy for them to do, right? These are some of the things that I do. I also ensure that, I control what they do effectively and efficiently. I control the processes, I control the implementation. But it's also very, very important that there's a thin line. Are we together? There's a thin line between controlling a certain initiative or controlling a certain processes and not micromanaging your team. There are two things, right? There are two things. Micromanaging is never healthy. Micromanaging is never healthy, but ensuring that there's some form of control in place to ensure that requirements are met, to ensure that the processes are done effectively and efficiently. These are some of the things that you want to ensure that you take into consideration and that you do. I hope we're still together. Are we still together? Are we still together? Are we still together? I hope I'm not being too fast. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Are we still together?
Yes, clearly we are to.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right? Good. So it's also very, very important to note that, see, by using these four functions, right, managers work to increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of their employees, processes, projects, and organizations. Right? Good. The next thing that we now want to talk about is this. The next thing I want to talk about is we talked about efficiency and effectiveness. When we talk about efficiency and effectiveness, what do we think we mean? I don't want to take it as I don't see the hint. When we say you're trying to be effective, right? Effective and efficient. Or when we say applying these four functions will make you more efficient and more effective. What do we mean? When we say efficient, when we say effective, what do they mean? What is efficiency? What is effectiveness? Anybody? What is efficiency? What is effectiveness?
Okay, for me, efficient is when you're able to do your job following according to the process and the procedure. Why effectiveness is it bringing out the desired result.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Who else wants to try? Who else wants to try? Who else wants to try? Thank you very much for that. Who else wants to try? Anybody? Let me check the chat. When you say something is efficient, when you say something is effective, well, what do you think they mean? Anybody? We don't have wrong answers here. I don't know your boss. I don't know your HR. And I won't go to your HR to tell them that this guy just answer a question anyhow. No, I won't do that, right? This is a free session. This is a session whereby you can air anything, any thought process, right? We don't have wrong answers, right? We only have try again later, try again, right? Let's go. Anybody who wants to go, who wants to try? Anybody? Okay. Anybody? What does effective and efficient mean? Can you be effective and not be efficient? All right? Can you be effective and not be efficient?
Yes, you can be effective and not efficient.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right? So it's very, very important that, you can do something effectively, right? You got it done regardless, right? But doesn't mean that you utilized the best, approach and the best manner to achieve that thing, right? It's very, very important that we have it at the back of our mind. It's very, very important that we have it at the back of our mind, right? For example, let me utilize my organization. Let me use what we do as an example. Right, like I said, I work for an IT consulting firm, and one of the things that we do is, we implement lots of projects, we implement lots of solutions for organizations globally, right? So there's one thing to ensure that a project is done, right? There's one thing to ensure that a project is done utilizing the best possible approach, right? There's one thing for us to ensure that, okay, what are the requirements? Oh, these are some of the requirements of the project. Okay, this is the goal. This is what we want to do. Okay, let's just do it, right? And there's another thing to efficiently do that project to ensure that to ensure that it was done with the right resources, it was done in the right, project timeline. It was done utilizing the best possible approach and best practices, right? So these are certain things that we take into consideration, right? These are certain things that will help prove that we take into consideration. And it's very, very important for you to note that these 4 functions that we've discussed, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, would help you be more efficient and effective, right? Would be more efficient and effective. As you can see, efficiency is using the least possible amount of resources to get your work done, whereby effectiveness is the ability to just produce desired results. I've got it done, right? Someone gave me, I was in a training one time and someone used the perfect example. The guy said, okay, you know what? I gave you a yam. I told you to help me. I told you to help me, cook a yam. So I told you to help me cook the yam, right? You have the yam, you have your knife with you, and you cut the knife. Sorry, you cut the yam, you peeled the yam, and you cooked the yam, right? It means that you've been effective. I told you to cook the yam, and you've done it. But I now went to the kitchen and I saw that when you were cutting the yam, I see that you cut a lot of, when you're cutting yam, it's not easy sometimes for men. It can be very stressful. So we don't care sometimes, just cut it. So we cut the larger chunks of the yam, we cut it away. So it's like, this part that you've now cut off, now you've wasted my yam. Now it's not enough for everybody. It's not enough to go around, right? So it means that you were effective, you cooked the yam, but you were not efficient utilizing the yam, right? I hope you get what I'm saying. It means that you didn't ensure that you utilized the best possible use of the resource, the yam, in the first instance. All right. So these are just some of the things that we take into consideration. So what we are telling you now is this, that you utilizing the 4 functions, right? You planning, you organizing, you leading, and you controlling will help you be a more efficient and a more effective leader, right? Very, very important that we have it at the back of our mind. Another perfect example of this would be let's use a fintech. I love using fintech analogies because because of their work rates and their optimization and automation is really crazy, right? And their speed to delivering new features and new products and qualities are really awesome, right? So good. We know a fintech like MoneyPoint, right? Because we would say we were to rate top 2 or top 3 fintechs. Now there's no way you won't call MoneyPoint, right? I know most people would say, oh, OPay is still on top. Some people say, oh, MoneyPoint has overtaken them as the latest unicorn in town, right? But everybody with their preference, right? Good. So a fintech like MoneyPoint, what they do, they process millions of transactions daily, right? Using very efficient systems. We know this because most of us utilize their POS. Most of us utilize their apps in transferring. Most of us utilize it very, very well, right? But we only tag them as effective if their transactions are as fast as they say they will, if their transactions are as reliable, are as secure as they said, it will be. These are some of the things that we take into consideration, right? Your system can be efficient but not effective if we can't, if we are using it, you are using it, and we are seeing that we're using money point a lot of times, and we've been noticing some fraudulent activities, right? We've been noticing some fraudulent activities. Let's say it's not as secure as it used to be, right? There's more, scam related activities, right? It's taking away that, that trust factor, and, that will do more harm, than good, right? It's very, very important that we know that they might be efficient in ensuring that they process millions of transactions daily, but are they effective enough to ensure that those transactions are secure, those transactions are accurate, complaints are being responded as quickly as humanly possible, right? So we would always utilize, this case study as we proceed, so that these, we have it at the back of our mind for people who work in IT firms, IT consulting firms. I would use case studies from within my organization. For people who also probably work in, financial institutions, would also, utilize other examples and use cases so that you can understand what we're talking about effectively and efficiently, right? Good. Now let us proceed, because we have a lot to talk about. What managers do and why they do it. You can see some examples here of the different phases and the different concepts, right? You can see planning, setting objectives and stating missions, determining the needed resources, organizing, designing job and specific tasks, creating organizational structures, leading. I believe this was an image that was gotten off the internet, just to at least give you a more visual representation, of what we're saying, of what we are referring to. Are we together? These are some of the things that we take into consideration. I already used my what I do as a case study, and I think that that's probably one of the best case studies that you could see, right? Like I said, I'm an IT consultant, but what do we do? There are different, when we say planning, there are different plannings that we do. We do strategic planning, we do, operational planning as well, right? I already told you that. It could be planning for a project scope, planning for a project, right? It could also be planning for the organization as a whole. Are we together? Organizing, assigning roles, assigning the right people to do the right jobs, right? These are some of the things that we take into consideration. Ensuring resources that are available, leading, motivate the team, ensuring that I lead them effectively and efficiently, ensuring that I'm not a leader that just, assigns, I just assign tasks left and right. I don't also give them insights on, how to ensure that, that is done in a healthy way. There's a way you lead your team that is more negative than positive, right? So most times we always put the issues down on the employees. They don't know how to follow. I give them instructions, they don't know how to follow simple instructions. Oh, these people is very lazy. That guy is a lazy guy. He doesn't know what to. You give him task, he can't do anything. Sometimes it's more the issue is typically not with the employee in some situations. In some situations, the issue is with the manager. You approach some situations, God will help you, and you will lead some Gen Z people. No disrespect to, the Gen Z culture, right? No disrespect to the clock it generations, right? However, there are certain things that you want to ensure that you take into consideration now, right? You can't, the way you lead or the way you talk to a millennial, right, is pretty different from how you talk to a Gen Z, right? So it's even different now. The way you lead a millennial, the way you lead a Gen Z are two different things. If you don't lead a Gen Z well, and now the issue now is, for you to understand what well means to a Gen Z is not an easy task, right? Because their needs change regularly. Are we together? So these are certain things that you take into consideration. That's why culture needs your culture of an organization will factor a great deal here. Right? I've seen situations whereby you assign tax to a Gen Z, and the next week they resigned. Yes, they resigned. Right? They resigned. Didn't you see that I was working on 2 projects already? Why would he put me on that project? Right? He didn't even tell me the way he told me, the way he talked to me on that. Next week, they've left the organization. Right? So these are some of the things that you need to take into consideration as leaders, as managers. These are some of the things that we need to ensure that we factor into consideration. These are some of the things that we factor into consideration. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? Right? I want to believe we're still together. So good, following these 4 functions ensures that what you're both effective and efficient. So I want you to do an example, a case study now, right? In your department that you probably manage, or in your department that you probably belong to, do you think you're both, efficient and effective in delivering what? In delivering desired values? Would you say you're both efficient and effective? And if you say yes, that's perfect. If you say no, then itemize, areas of improvements that you can take back to your organization to what? To implement. Are we together? Then go back to your document improvement initiatives, improvement actions, take it back to your organizations, and then ensure that, you improve upon it. These are questions that you ask ourselves, right? These are some of the things that we take into considerations, and these are some of the things that, we ask ourselves. Now, let us proceed. Good. Now we want to talk about the role of management, the 4 functions of management. Right. The initial one we have is planning. We have planning. Who remembers? We spoke about 4 of those functions. Who remembers? Who can remind me? We said planning. The next one is what? Who remembers? We said planning. Who remembers? Who remembers?
Organization.
Organizing. Thank you very much. Organizing. Thank you very much. That's 2. We have 2 more.
Implementing.
No, implementing is not here. Implementing is not here, but the nomenclature implementing is not actually utilized. Let me see. Leading. Thank you very much. Leading. The last one is what?
Controlling.
Thank you very much. Controlling. Right? Controlling. Thank you very much. Right? Implementation. We're not talking about projects here. Right? But thank you very, very, very much for that. Thank you very, very much for that. Right now, let's proceed. Let's talk about. Now, I want to take these things, one at a time. Right? We want to take these things one at a time. The first thing that we have on the list is planning. Right? When we talk about planning, what are some of the things that we take into consideration? I mean, you've all heard of this phrase that they say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Right? So when we talk about planning, what are the things that we're taking into consideration? Right? We're talking about what? Planning begins by anticipating potential problems or opportunities the organization may encounter. So ideally, what we're talking about is, planning ahead, planning for the organization. There are different levels of planning, right? There are strategic plannings, there are tactical plannings, there are operational planning, and there are contingency planning. Planning for, the success of the organization. In fact, you should also plan for when things go wrong. In some situations, if you've heard anything around business continuity planning, right? It's in alignment with that. What you see, the contingency plan is in alignment, right? You plan for, the direction, the vision of the organization, right? As an organization, you have your, most organizations will have their, strategy, their strategy documents that shows the alignment of where an organization sees themselves, right? Or where an organization sees themselves in the next 5 years, in the next 4 years. Right, we've documented those strategy. We've documented those things strategically. The next thing is what? Mapping out an action plan. right? Mapping out a roadmap to ensure that, we get to our desired, our desired bus stop, or for a lack of better word, I don't want to use our desired state, right? So these are some of the things that we take into consideration. And, for you to get from point A to point B, you need to have a plan. Yeah, you need to have an action plan. You need to have, some sort of direction that takes you from point A to point B, right? And that's what we want to talk about, how you plan, how you anticipate, how you begin to anticipate potential problems or opportunities, right? When there's a potential problem, what are some of the plans you put in place so that, you can recover just like that, right? When you see an opportunity come up, what are some of the actions that you've put in place that, okay, you know what, this opportunity, when it comes up, we're putting out, actions in place to ensure that what we leverage or we exploit that opportunities, right? These are some of the things that you take into consideration, right? These are some of the things that you take into consideration. And when we talk about planning, there are different types of planning, right? We have strategic planning, like I said, we have tactical planning, we have operational planning, and we have contingency planning, right? These are some of the things that we will be talking about in the next slide. Right? Good. Let us proceed. Please, if you have any question at any point in time, you know to ask me, right? If you have any question, you know to ask me. Good. So let's continue. When we talk about planning, there are certain things that we also, ensure that, we need to take into consideration, right? For example, what needs to be done, identifying, when and how it will be done, determining by whom it should be done, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. Like I said earlier, most organizations will have certain goals and objectives that they need to ensure that they achieve, right? There's one thing to document these things. There's one thing to document what your strategy looks like. There's one thing for you to document what your objectives or your objectives should look like. And there's another thing to plan to achieve those objectives. Are we together? Right? There's one thing to have certain objectives. Oh, at the end of the year, we want to achieve $500,000 as an organization. At the end of the year, we want to get 25 strategic partners. At the end of the year, we want to ensure that we've achieved 5 or 10, compliance certificates so that at least we can keep our partnership, afloat. These are some of the things that, an organization might have at the back of their mind. Are we together? But there's one thing to have these visions documented. There's one thing to have these objectives and these goals itemized and documented. There's another thing to plan for those things, to plan to achieve those things. And that's what we're talking about here, right? That's where we have situations like, what needs to be done to achieve these objectives, identifying when you need to do this, when you need to carry out certain actions, how you need to even carry out these actions. But there's certain things that you also need to take into consideration that, who will carry out this certain action, who will be responsible for ensuring that this is done effectively and efficiently. And you can see on my screen, right? You can see on my screen here, right? You can see clearly that what strategic planning involves creating long-range plans, right? Most organizations, I said most, not all, because some organizations don't have, uh, their organizational strategy documented. Some don't have it, right? That's why I said, for some organizations, these are some of the things that, we take into consideration. And I'm not saying, when I say some don't have it, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, right? For every organization, you should have where you've documented your organizational strategy. It should be clear. It should be clear where you're headed as an organization, right? These are certain things that we need to take into consideration. It should be clear. Your intentions as an organization should be clear, right? And these are some of the things that, we want to ensure that, you do as an organization, right? So strategic planning involves, creating long range, as you can see, long range meaning long, 1 to 5. Some will say 3 to 5. Some will say 2 to 5, right? But, like I said, I've seen organizations with, 1 year strategy, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year strategy, right? It's very, very important that we take that into, consideration. Good. As you can see, we see things like, broad goals and determine the necessary resources to accomplish these goals, right? For example, you could see if we were to liken this to banks, right? If we were to liken this to banks, or if we were to liken this to my organization. For example, a bank would say, okay, you know what, we want to become the biggest bank in Africa, right? Want to become the biggest bank across Africa. It means that what they want to expand, they want to extend all across, countries within what the African continent, right? And this, we know that this will primarily translate to what expanding across all the countries, in Africa. And these are some of the things that, I've seen, banks do. These are some of the things that are in, certain, organizational strategy. For the organization I work with, right, one of our strategic plan could be, okay, you know what? We want to extend. Right now, we have a presence in Nigeria, presence in Ghana. We have, presence in Kenya. We can say, okay, you know what? Let's want to expand. Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, Tanzania, right? These are some. This is, this is a strategic um this is a strategic goal, right? We want to expand to about 10 countries in Africa. Three countries is not enough. We want about 10, right? When we don't say, okay, this is what we want to do, the next thing that we want to now take into consideration is now document actions to take to ensure that what we achieve these things effectively and efficiently. Are we together? Are we still together? Are we still together? Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. Right. These are some of the things that, these are some of the things that we take into consideration. These are some of the things that we take into consideration. And we have tactical plans. As you can see, tactical plans, has a shorter time frame, right? Has a shorter time frame compared to, strategic, right? It could be less than 1 year, right? Please, you just have that at the back of your mind that, we say less than 1 year, but, like I said earlier, the culture of the organization would also come into play. Different organization with different approach in managing certain things, right? But one thing is clear, right? Tactical planning is, has a shorter time frame as compared to strategic planning. That is clear, that is defined, right? That is constant, right? Good. And as you can see, it has more specific objectives that support the broader strategic goals. Another thing that, we want to ensure that we also take into consideration is this, right? Every objective that we have within the organization feeds back to the organizational strategic objective, right? We don't do anything in isolation. I want to believe that we're all aware. You don't do things in isolation. That's why we have, enterprise, or business objectives, and then we have, departmental objectives that feed into the enterprise objectives, right? So these are certain things that we take into consideration. You shouldn't, as an organization, have conflicting, objectives, right? As an organization, everything ideally fits into each other. We have our strategic objective, we have our business objective, right? Which we definitely would ensure that we have strategic plans for. However, our tactical objectives, should ensure that, they also should be some form of spin-off the strategic objective that we've definitely established. These are some of the things that will ensure, that we should take into consideration, right? Using my organization as a case study, we could say that, okay, you know what? We have presence in Nigeria, right? In Lagos and in Abuja. But we know Lagos is a very, very, a very, very big and wide, state. And we currently have presence in Lagos mainland, but we have majority of our clients on the island. And it's been hard for them to come down to the mainland to work into our organization just to have some form of dialogue if they want to. We know that they can do virtual calls, but there are some situations whereby, some of our clientele don't want that. They want to see us physically. and then, at least just to, just physically have certain conversations with us when and where and when they want. So we come up with that and say, you know what, we have a presence on the mainland. Why not, establish another branch on the island? Right? These are certain things that, we want to ensure that, we take into consideration. Right? These are certain things that I want to take into consideration. I know it aligns indirectly to our strategic objective that I mentioned earlier, saying that we need to expand, our presence as an organization, right? But these are certain things that, we ensure that, we take into consideration. These are certain things that we want to ensure that, we do. So certain things that we want to ensure that, we also consider. We have operational planning, right, as well, creating specific standards, methods. We are very well versed with operational activities, daily tasks that we carry out, daily initiatives that we carry out. In some situations, we have SOP, standard operational procedures, that guides, those activities and those things that we carry out on a day-to-day, basis. Right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. And the SOPs that we have are perfect to guide us in these, certain situations, because we've clearly documented the task, the daily task that, everyone within our department or everyone primarily within our organization or within certain functions should do. Right? These are certain things that we are clear, we're clear about, and these are certain things that, most organizations do. Right? Most enterprise organizations. So let me put it that way. Don't let me say, most businesses do. Right? But these are things that we do regularly. These are things that we do on a day-to-day level. So these are certain things that I want to believe everybody on this call, are definitely aware of. Right? Good. And then we have contingency plans, right? I mentioned something earlier. I mentioned something like a business continuity plan. In the event of a disaster, in the event of a critical issue that has affected the way in which you operate and the way in which you service your customers, what are some of the contingency plans that you've established? What are some of the contingency plans that you've documented? You've tested, etc. This is what we're talking about here, right? For example, let's say the most common one that everyone has heard about, let's say you have a cyber attack. That's one of the primary things that most people use, which primarily isn't the only thing that, you take into consideration, right? However, this is what, we've seen that people use a lot of times, right? In the event of a cyber attack, right? And, your critical infrastructure has been hit or is affected, right? How do you ensure that, business continues as usual? How do you ensure that, right? In the event of, let's say, a massive power outage, how do you ensure that, your business continues as usual? In the event of, let's say, your hardware failure or your server failure, how do you ensure that, business continues as usual? In the event of an issue like COVID-19, again, how do you ensure your business continues as usual? What are some of the contingency plans that you've established as an organization? Are we together? These are some of the things that, we take into consideration. These are some of the things that you take into consideration, right? And, as an organization, we have different plans to ensure that, we do this. Right? Some people will ensure that, backups are taken regularly. Some people will have, alternate sites to work from. Some people will even ensure that, a remote working process or policy has been initiated and has been adopted within the organization, right? Some people would say that, okay, you know what, one of the things that we've done is to ensure that all our resources, we have a replication on the cloud, right? So what we do is hybrid. In case this one goes up, we can still utilize, our resources that we've migrated or hosted on the cloud, right? These are some of the things that, we take into consideration, right? These are some of the things that we take into consideration. For people on this call who probably don't understand, everything I've said with respect to the contingency plans, right? let's use a bank or a fintech, for example. In a situation whereby it's Saturday and you're trying to operate or you're trying to send money, and you notice that what your mobile application is not, working. That's your bank app. Your bank app is not working. It's not going to, you're trying to log in, it's giving you errors, right? We know that, the bank has come up with certain contingency plans to say, okay, you know what? If you're trying to use the mobile app and it's not working, you can use USSD. It's as simple as that. You can always use USSD, right? These are certain things that, we take into consideration, right? This is just me trying to bring it to your understanding, right? And these are things that, we ensure that we take into consideration, right? Good. You can see the different approach to planning that we have. We've already spoken about this, right? Strategic planning involves, creating long-range broad goals for organizations and determining what resources will be needed to accomplish these goals. I mean, we've discussed this, prior to now. This is just like a repetition of, what we discussed in the last slide, right? Good. We have tactical planning, begins the implementation of strategic plannings, right? But they have a shorter time frame than strategic plans, right? In some situations, I believe in your test or in your mock-up exam, these are some of the things that you might want to, have at the back of your mind, right? Operational planning rather, create specific standards, method, policies, and procedures that are used in, specific function areas of the organization. That's why I liken that to, you having SOPs within the organization to guide what you do and to guide how you do it effectively and efficiently. For example, my team members come to work, they know certain operational activities that they need to do for that day, for that week. All right. We have certain projects that we need to close. We have clients that we need to interact with or interface with. We have documentations that we need to create. We have, security controls that we need to implement. We have certain vulnerability tests that we want to ensure that we carry out that week, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. Are we together? And we say contingency plans. We've discussed contingency plans in the event of an issue, in the event of a crisis, in the event of a disaster. How do you ensure that what you continue business as usual, right? How do we ensure that you continue business as usual? That is what this is referring to. And these are just, examples and types of planning. As you can see, strategic 1 to 5 years, literally, who's responsible? Top management, definitely. Extent of coverage, external environment, and the entire organization as a whole, right? The purpose and goal, establishing mission and long-term goals. We've discussed this already, right? It is very broad and quite, general. Accuracy and predictability, high degree of accuracy, high degree of uncertainty, and so this is just, a pictorial representation of, what we expect from the different types and the different categories of planning. These are certain things that we take into consideration. These are certain things that, we utilize within the organization, right? Good. Let's proceed. But before we proceed, let me ask a question. Let me ask a simple question before we come to that. Which type of planning will primarily prevent, which type of planning will prevent, total service outage within an organization? Which type of planning will prevent total service outage within an organization? Anybody? Which type of planning will prevent a total service outage within an organization?
I think that should be tactical.
Final answer. Which type of planning will prevent a total service outage within an organization? Final answer, tactical. Final answer, tactical. Which type of planning? Strategic. Final answer. Which
Yes.
type of planning helps prevent total service outage? Total service outage. I think probably because I'm using service outage. Strategic. Final answer, strategic. Which type of planning? Let me say it again. Let me rephrase the question. Which type of planning will help prevent total service disruption?
Operational.
What did you say? I didn't hear you, sir. What did you say? Come again. Everybody, I want you to type it. I want you to type it out. What do you think it is?
I said operational.
Operational. Someone is saying strategic. Which plan helps you prevent service disruption? Total service disruption within an organization. Who remembers the types of planning again? We said we have tactical, we said we have strategic, we said we have operational, and we said we have what? Contingency planning, right? Those are the four. So let me ask again one more time. Which type of planning helps prevent total service outage or disruption?
Operational.
Operational. Okay. Why
Or
operational?
contingency. Because it deals with day-to-day activities.
Final answer. Will prevent.
To ensure everything goes well.
Contingency planning. Contingency planning. Right? Messi says contingency, Shadrach. It's contingency planning, right? It's contingency planning. What we are saying is that which planning helps you prevent? Helps you prevent total service outage, right? I mentioned in the last conversation, we mentioned business continuity, right? We talked about certain activities like the business continuity plans that were established that in the event or situation of a cyber attack or in the event of a disaster within the organization, you have what? You have continuity plans to ensure that you continue business as usual, right? Operational planning helps you carry out, certain operational day-to-day activities, but day-to-day activities will not help you, will not prevent disasters from happening. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? We carry out day-to-day activities to ensure that, all attacks for that they are done and sorted. But does not mean that what we carrying out our day-to-day task would now help us mitigate, right? It will help us automatically mitigate, unforeseen challenges or disasters. Do you get what I'm saying? Or certain situations that, we can't control. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Right? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So no, it is not operational, it is not strategic, it is contingency planning, right? It is contingency planning. Are we together? Are we still together? Are we still together? Are we good to go? Are we still together? Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. Let us proceed. Let us now proceed. Okay, good. This is an example. I want you to take about 5 minutes to respond to this exercise. I want you to take 5 minutes to respond to this exercise. Read it and respond. You can drop everybody. I need you to participate. Read this and then respond. Read this and then respond. Are we together? Everybody, I can see everybody. Please, I need responses. So we'll do this for 5 minutes. So I will come back for an answer in the next 5 minutes. So let's say by 11:16. I want to be reading your.
Now.
Who's calling you? right? So I want responses. So let's read this and then let's put our answer. What do you think your answers are? All right, let's get to solving. Let's get to solving. Let's get to solving. Are we doing it? Are we doing it? Are we doing it? Are we on it? Are we on it? Are we on it? I want to believe we're done reading this, right? So this is the question. I want to believe we're done reading it. This is the question. Are we still together? I know it's Saturday. I know it's Saturday, right? But are we still together? Don't worry. This will soon be over. Can we all see the questions? Can we all see the question? Can we all see the question? Are we together? Can we all see the question? All right, all right, all right. All right, good. So let's proceed to responding. What type of planning do you think Gordon was doing? And also because, Gordon's strategy changed only after it purchased the iGen 3, does the shift constitute strategic planning? Question one, Aruna Hill says strategic planning. Okay, okay. Question one says, what type of, Aruna says strategic planning. All right, all right, all right. Everyone drop your responses, drop your responses. Every other person, I can't see your responses up. I can only see Aruna's response. I can't see other responses. Anybody, are we together? Anybody? All right, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Uh, I want to believe that we've all had pap and what do we take on Saturday morning again? When I was growing up, we used to have pap and akara or something like that. Maybe we've all had pap. I know pap sometimes make you really make us sleep a lot. So I want to believe that we've all had our morning breakfast. All right, good. I can see Kayode also says number one, strategic planning. And Aruna says question two, yes, it constitutes strategic planning. All right, Aruna, kindly unmute yourself and I'll give us the reasons why it is strategic planning. Give us why. Why is it strategic planning and why does it constitute? Do you get why does it constitute a strategic plan? Kindly do us that honor and then we can just proceed with the class.
Hello.
Yes, please. You're audible. Good morning. Oh, I thought someone unmuted. I saw someone wanted to speak. Who was that? Kindly unmute yourself and just, tell us why, and then we'll proceed. Anybody? Aaron, are you on the call? We don't have wrong responses. You already told us yes, yes. So just tell us why, and then we'll just, proceed. Or who wants to help Aruna if Aruna doesn't want to come up? Anybody? Aruna, are you still on the call? Anybody who else wants to help so that we proceed? Who else wants to help? We don't have wrong answers. We don't have wrong answers. Anybody?
Let
All
me
right.
try, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
All right. My own take is strategic planning does not have to only occur before any action. It can be emergent.
Sorry, come again. I didn't really hear that. Can you repeat that statement?
I'm saying that strategic planning
Yes,
does
please.
not have to occur only before an action takes place. It can be emergent.
Okay. Lay more emphasis. Lay more emphasis so that at least I understand, where you're coming from.
Okay, let me just give a scenario to support what I've said. The shift involves redefining the company's mission, and it can be entering into a new market or creating a new division. That is from part of what has happened that made it to be a strategic plan.
Okay. I think I understand you now. So, because they were initially a printing firm, right? They were initially a printing firm and they were initially a printing firm. Now they want to transition into a marketing service company. Right? But as a marketing service company, okay, yes, I think I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying that because they are trying to rebrand themselves, a lot of things will change. Right? That's what you're saying, right? I think that's what you're saying. That's what Mr. Kennedy is trying to say, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, perfect. So because they are rebranding into I don't want to use different verticals. They're still the same. Their customer base will definitely might probably even still be no. I think their customer base would change into a new vertical in some instances, but their mission, their vision, their strategic alignment would also change. Right? Let me see. Strategic planning because it thought of a long-term goal. Good, good, good. That's also one of the things that we take into consideration. That's one of the core differentiation between strategic planning and all the other planners. Thank you very much. Um, your name I can see Pretty Beauty. So thank you very much for that response, right? So these are certain things that we take into consideration. You can't just wake up and you can't just wake up and say that, oh, you want to change how you operate as an organization. And so, okay, you know what, we'll do it in next week. We'll do it in 1 month. Let's change everything that we do. No, 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 no. It's a strategic plan. It's a strategic approach. You can't just wake up one morning and say that, you know what, we were typically we're an IT consulting company, but I want us to start operating as a fintech, right? I want us to start operating as a fintech and say, okay, we have just 1 month to do this, or 2 months to do this, or 3 months to do this. And that's not literally how it works. If you want to transition, there are different things that you need to take into consideration. You need to plan for it. You need to look at, what are some of the resources that we need to ensure that we get here? What are some of the technology capabilities? What are some of the competence capabilities? There are a lot of things that you need to come into play, right? And that's why we need to ensure that it takes into, that's why we need to know that this is aligned to what a strategic, plan. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? Right? Are we together? Good. For everyone that still didn't attempt, you can always, want to believe that you'll have this material and you can also, attempt this at home or, while when they send you the material, right? But we don't have time to waste. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. We have a lot of, grounds to cover. So let's, get right into it. Drill continue. You can say an organization's mission is formalized in its mission statement. A document that states, okay, good. An organization's mission is formalized in its mission statement. A document that states, so what they're saying is a mission statement document that states the purpose of the organization and its reason for existing. If we were to do a quick case study now, ask everybody on this call, what's your organization? What's the mission statement of your organization? What's the mission statement of your organization? What's the mission statement of your organization? Everybody here, currently, do you know if you know your organization's mission statement, let me see your hand. If you know your organization's mission statement, what's their mission statement? We want to be the dash, 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 dash in West Africa. There are different organizations with different, mission statement. If you're on this call and you know your organization's mission statement, let me see your hand. I mean, you could easily go to your organization's website. Some organizations, they publish it on their website, right? If you don't know your organization's mission statement, let me see your hand. If you don't know, or if your organization doesn't have a mission statement, let me see your hand. I know. Oh yeah, what is it? Tell us. Let's see. Can you tell us so that we hear, or you type it out so that we see which one? I know you're comfortable with. Beauty, can you tell us? Please, what's your actual name? So that I can. We have, but I'm familiar with you. Okay. Equipping you for future challenges. What do you guys do? Is that a training organization, or is that what do you guys do? Let me know if your mission fits the organization. Let me see. equipping you for future challenges. What do you guys, what's your organization? Tutoring, I said it. Right? Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. Right? These are some of the things that, we take into consideration. Right? We've seen banks, right? One of the major banks in Africa right now, GTB, right? They've changed their name to what? GT. What's their name now? I think they changed their name to GT something. I've forgotten the name. Right?
GT Co.
GT Co, thank you very much. GT Co, right? Their mission statement is to make financial services easy and accessible, right? To make financial GTCO, thank you very much. GT Co, right? One of their mission statement is to make financial services easy and accessible. It's very, very important that you have it at the back of your mind that, when you see a mission statement, there are three things that you should take into consideration, right? The purpose, the value, and the actions that they need to take to ensure that they achieve all of these to achieve their mission statement, right? You can't just dish out mission statement and not do anything to back up what you stated, right? If I were to ask Beauty now in this class that no, you said sorry, I'm also putting you for the spot, but thank you for also participating, right? Good. Now that you've said what your mission statement is to equip you for future challenges, right? If I were to ask you that, what are some of the actions that you've now taken to ensure that, this mission statement is actually achieved? If I were to ask you this question, what would you say? What would you type out, right? These are things that we take into consideration. Now, you can see the case study that they used here is, Twitter. The case study that they used here is Twitter. You can see Twitter's mission statement: to give everybody the power to create and share ideas. Right? Give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. So, you can see what they are trying to do. The purpose: freedom of speech, freedom to disseminate information, right? Good. And one of the reasons why Elon Musk, one of the predominant reason why Elon Musk created Twitter, which is now called X, is because they said the media houses in America, they sell them half truths. They don't give them real insights into what is going on. They know how to configure the storylines to show what their sponsors want them to show what they want the masses to think or to see. And that's one of the things that we also experience here in Nigeria, right? Good, but that's by the way, let's not bring that into class, right? So he thought about it that let me create an environment over here, let me create an ecosystem whereby you want to tweet about something, anything is happening, you can easily come on Twitter, tweet it, and then it goes viral ASAP, right? These are some of the things. That was his line of thought, right? What value was it bringing? It was bringing what? Believe in freedom of expression, free expression, and how every power has, every voice has the power to impact the world. That was his, a value proposition. Right? What strategy did he use? Right? You can see. But I want us to bring it home to us, to something that we are familiar with. Right? So let's use the bank as a case study now. For example, GT Bank, one of their mission statement is what? To make financial services easy and accessible. Right? What's the purpose? Right? To ensure that everyone has access to what? Financial services, to ensure that everyone can make transfers, from farmers to bricklayers to shoemakers to people working in organizations, people working in SMBs, our grandparents in the village, to ensure that even without internet they can ensure that they can receive and send money at will, right? So we can say that what the purpose of that particular thing they're saying, the purpose of that, statement is around financial inclusion. No one is left out, right? That's what they're trying to say, to make financial services easy and accessible to everybody in all corners of the earth. Rural area, urban area, everybody has access to financial services. That's what they're saying, right? What's the value they are bringing to us? Simplicity, innovation, creativity, right? Seamless payment, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. Comfort, because, gone are those days whereby you have to go, to your banking hall to make certain transactions, right? They thought about it that, how can we ensure that, we make, life easy for our partners and for our stakeholders. Then they brought out different platforms to ensure that, wherever you are, in the village, in the city, you have access to receiving payments and making financial transactions. And what are some of the actions that they did to ensure that, they achieve or they meet that mission statement? You saw they did lots of things, like they did the *737#. They did the mobile banking, internet banking, right? They did lots of app improvements. These are some of the things that they took. These are some of the things that they did. Are we together? These are some of the things that they took into consideration. These are some of the things that they factored into consideration, right? Good. Now let us proceed. Are we still together? Do we understand? Do we understand? Are we together? Do we understand? Any question? Any question so far? Any question? Are we together? Are we still together? Anybody, are we still together? Are we
Yes,
still
100%.
Yes, yes.
All right, perfect. Right? Good. The next thing I want to talk about now is organizing. We've talked about this indirectly, so I want to believe that everybody on this call has an idea of what we're saying, right? Organizing, as you can see, is the process of coordinating and allocating a firm's resource, an organization's resource to carry out its plans. As simple as that. Right? What are some of the elements of organizational structures? You can see top management, middle management, and supervisory management. Are we together? Right? So when we talk about organization, what are we referring to? Right? Organizing, sorry, not organization. When we talk about organizing, what are we referring to? What are the things that we're taking into consideration? Right? We are looking at three things. Number one, who will do what? Who will report to whom? And how will the typical workflow be? Primarily, how do we coordinate and allocate the firm's resources? When we talk about resources, what are the four categories of resources? What are the four categories of resources? Who knows? What are the four categories of resources? Who knows? Who knows? Let me say resources. There are four categories of resources. When we say resources generally, what are the four categories of resources that we have? Let me tell you. We have human resource, we have technological resource, we have financial resource, and we have informational resource. Very, very important that we have that at the back of our mind. But now let's talk about, organizing. That's the process of coordinating and allocating the organization's resource to carry out certain plans. As simple and as straightforward as humanly possible. Are we together? So you can see, what are the primary functions of managers in organizing activities? You can see everything that we're talking about here. Managers can arrange the structural elements of an organization to maximize the flow of information and the efficiency of work processes. Are we together? And you can see they accomplish this by what? Dividing up tasks, division of labor, grouping groups and employees, assigning roles, authority, and responsibilities. Are we together? So these are certain things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. Using myself as a case study, right? This is how I organize my team. This is how I organize my team. What I do is this. I have an insight into the project that we have to do in that quarter. Are we together? This is me trying to break it down into practical terms. I have insights into the projects that we have to do for that quarter, right? What I do personally as, a lead is what I break it down into, that quarter, different iterations, different quarter. That's what I do, right? So for that particular quarter, I have insight into all the projects. What are all the projects for this quarter? Okay, this is what we have. And you know that what? The changes occur because, there are new projects that can come in at any point in time. And we also have to embed them and include them within that quarter. Are we together? So what I do in this situation is that, what I do in this situation is that I have insights. Once I have insights into the project I have for that quarter, I can easily what? Allocate and organize my activities and my resources effectively to meet up with what? The project I'm trying to manage. Are we together? Right? I have what are the things I want to achieve as an organization this quarter? This. Okay. I have how many people in my team? I have 10 people in my team. All right. Based on the projects that we have on ground and the number of human resource and the technological resource that we have, how can I effectively align my resources? When I say resources, I'm saying human resource, technological resource in this situation now. How can I align them to ensure that what these projects that I have here are what effectively sorted? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Right? And that's where these things will come into play. That's where I divide up tasks. Okay, for this project, I want the two of you to work on this project. For this 27,000 project, I want you and you to work on this project. For this quality management system project, I want you and you to work on this project. Are we together? These are things that we take into consideration. These are things that we do. I'm trying to bring it home. I'm trying to relate it to what I do so that you can see it in a clear picture. Are we together? In a more enterprise perspective, these are some things that we do. We have what? Different departments, we have different job functions, and we also ensure that everyone knows what they are responsible for. So we have no confusion whatsoever. I hope we're together. Right? These are the things that we want to ensure, that we take into consideration. These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. Right? These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. And it's very, very important that, this particular process is managed effectively. Why? Because, if you have a poor structure, right? If you have a poor structure, then there is every possibility that you will never deliver value to your customers, or better, to your stakeholders. If you have a poor structure, if you've not dealt with this particular phase effectively and efficiently, there is that risk of what? Not delivering effective value or value that your customer wants to see. There's every risk and tendency that you will never deliver value that they want. Because in most situations, poor structure equals what? You not being able to deliver or meet the customer's needs and expectations at every point in time. Because you have a poor structure means that what? The process flows have not been defined effectively, right? There's no synchronization within the organization to achieve deliverables and objectives. You don't know who's responsible for what activity. Right? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we have at the back of our minds. right? And this is not new to us. I already discussed this when we came into the class, right? You can see the different levels of managerial hierarchy. We have top management, the CEOs, the CROs, the CFOs, the COOs, the CCOs. We have a lot. We have the middle management, right? It could be branch managers, could be regional managers, could be team leads, or could be leads, or could be managers. They are senior managers, right? They are managers, they are top management, they are senior managers, they are team leads. These are certain things that, we take into consideration. Also note that, different line of thoughts, different nomenclature in different organizations, right? Very, very important that, we at least note all of these things. It's also very, very important that we note all of these things, right? Good. And it's also very, very important that we take, most of this into consideration. We've talked about this, right? We talked about the risk of you having a poorly designed organizational structure. If you have a poor structure, then, everything will suffer. Processes will suffer. Deliverables will suffer. Are we together? Deliverables will suffer. Processes will suffer. Value delivery will definitely suffer. Right? These are the things that we take into consideration, and that's why we avoid, that's why we always preach on ensuring that what your organizational structure is solid and has been designed in alignment to best practices. Right? I hope we're together. These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. You can't afford to have a poorly designed structure. Very, very important, because you risk service disruption, you risk losing customers, right? You risk affecting your revenue, because if your customers are affected, then indirectly your revenue is also affected, and that's what you don't want. We've also talked about the management pyramid, right? There's there's an issue with let me see this slide. Okay, sorry. So there's I want to arrange it very well. I think there's a mix-up in the arrangement. One has to come before this, comes before this. Organizing. Let me see. Structure. This comes before. No, this comes before this. Yes, so that it is clear to everybody. Right? There was just a mix-up in that, so I said I should ensure that I do it, so that in case they send it to you, it is easy and straightforward. Right? But I hope we get what we're saying, and I hope we get what we're talking about. Now let us proceed. We've talked about, planning. We've talked about organizing. Now let's talk about lead. Lead me. How do you lead me? How are you a leader? That's what we want to talk about. Leading is the process of guiding and motivating others towards the achievement of organizational goals. As simple as straightforward as that. Right? This ability to influence others to behave in a way is called power. You have power over them. You have power over their emotions. Right? But it's very, very important that you have it at the back of your mind that, leadership, goes beyond, or better still, leading or leadership goes beyond, telling them what to do when you are there. No. Oh, do this. You've not done this. So this, no. Leadership also goes as far as influencing people to perform, even when you're not there. Right? It goes as far as also influencing people to perform when you're not there. When you're not there, they know what to do. They know what you expect from them. That's how it really shows that, you're a good leader. They've seen your work ethic, and they know that, okay, you know what? I want this guy, the work rate that this guy is putting in, I can't slack. Are we together? These are certain things that we'll take into consideration. Either you are there with them or you're not there with them. These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we take into consideration. And leadership is not by age. I hope we are aware. Leadership is not by age. Leadership is not by age. Right? You see, if you go to fintechs now, you see a young team lead, a team lead that is very, very young. Right? It's very, very important that you can see a team lead that is young. It's not by how old you are. It's not by, oh, he's an old man, he can lead us. No, that's not how it is, oh. Right? No. That's not what typically makes you a leader. Right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. That's not what primarily makes you a leader. No. Right? It's very, very important. The ability to influence, the ability to talk to them in a way that they are motivated to move mountains. Right? And leading is not by frowning. You know, some people, they believe that, you know, I will come in, I will squeeze my face, I will shout at them. And automatically, you know, they fear me. No, fear is not, you know, fear, in fact, to me, I don't think fear is a good enabler of leadership. I doubt it. You know, I've worked in an environment where, you know, people were, we had team leads in an organization, and there was this particular team leader, and people were so scared of approaching her because of how she, or how the person would relate what you've expressed or what you've asked to, you know, to the upper management. That's not leading. If your team members can't come to you and say, okay, you know what, boss, I'm trying to do this, but I believe that if I do it this way, it might not be as, you know, as great as I want it to come off. Okay, what am I trying to say? This is what I'm trying to say, but I can't really articulate it. Okay, you know what, let's try this. Go and try it and come back. Let's see. Do you get, if there are certain ways that, you know, you would have instilled this culture of, you know, of excellence in them, that they want to perform. They want to ensure that, you know, things are being sorted when you are there and when you're not there. You'd have done such a great work that you don't even need to micromanage anybody. Right? These are things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. These are things that we take into consideration. And, you know, we've said that, you know, the abilities for you to influence how others behave is called power. Now, let's look at what the different variants of power. Legitimate power by your position. You are a CEO now, right? You are a COO, you are a CTO. Automatically, you have power based on your position. You can instruct, I can instruct anybody. I can instruct my team leads to do A, B, C, and D. I'm head of technical service. I can instruct you, guy, do this, sort this out for me. Are we together? Right? These are the things that we take into consideration. Reward power. Power that is derived from an individual's control over rewards. Oh, I have to select who will go and do training in South Africa. You know, that power is there. I have power to nominate, you know, top performing people within my organization. You know, automatically you have to now be my good books. December is coming now. You can see December is coming now. They will do best performing staff. It's the last quarter that you see people buying you. Boss, I just thought I should get you this gift and this present. I know what you want. Don't worry. I know what you're looking for. I know what you're trying to get. Right? You know, these are certain things that, you know, we take into consideration. Right? We have cohesive power, which is derived from an individual's ability to threaten negative outcomes. HR enforces disciplinary action. I will sanction you. Do you get? That's cohesive power. Power derived from an individual's ability to threaten negative actions. If you don't do this, if you do this again the next time, you will receive a query. Right? Expert power, which is derived from an individual's extensive knowledge in one or more area. You know, when you are the subject matter expert in a certain area, you know, people treat you differently because, you know, they know that, we finish that. So we might need him later. So there's a way that, you know, they give you that respect. Let me put it that way. Right? Referent power, which is derived from an individual's personal charisma and the respect or admiration the individual inspires. You know, they see in the organization, some this man, I want to be like this man, man. This man changed so many lives. Right? Do you get what I'm saying? For example, we see Dr. Landa, we say, such a charismatic leader, you know, the way he gives back to the economy, the way he gives back to people, the way he, you know, pours wisdom back into, you know, people around him. You see that, okay, you know what, we look up to this man. It's someone that, you know, we emulate, it's someone that we respect. Do you get someone like, you know, and no one sees Tony Elumelu. I don't think anyone has talked bad about Tony Elumelu before, you know, because of the way he carries himself, the way he ensures that, you know, funds are available, the way he throws, you know, his parties. You know, everyone will look at him and, in the corporate world, this man is someone I want to be like. Right? You know, these are the things that, you know, we take into consideration. These are some of the things that, you know, we do. These are some of the things that we emulate. Are we still together? I hope I've not confused you. Perfect.
Not
Perfect.
at all.
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Right? So my question, I know we'll go for a break by 12, but let's answer this. My question is this. Are leaders born or made? I just need one response so that we proceed and we go ahead with it. Are leaders born or made?
Leaders are made, sir.
They are made. Final answer?
Final answer.
Good. Who else? Who else? Are leaders born or made?
Leaders are born, but in the process they are made.
I like that. That's a diplomatic response. I like that. Now, tell me, just lay down some emphasis so that at least we are together. Both parties. Yes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. There are people that since they've been in primary school to university, even in their working place, they are always leaders. True. Either you like it or not. So these are born leaders. And maybe whenever they find themselves in a place, they contribute more than even the leader. And before you know, they'll make them the leaders. These are born leaders. Then in the process, if you are born leaders like that and you did work on yourself, then your leadership skills in this present day contemporary might not work. So you need to work on yourself to activate that leadership skill you were born with.
Thank you very, very, very much for that. Beauty, how about you? You said leaders are made, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, please give us, why do you think leaders are made? Any response to, I'm not putting you on the spot. Anyhow, feel free. Or you want to change? You want to port? Is BTC on the call? Do you want to port? Or do you think they are both born and made? All right, let's proceed. I think probably as an internet issue, right? Good. So it's very, very important to note that many researchers argue that, leaders are both made and born. Like what I forgot who responded for us earlier, right? Said it is so true, right? There are people that you know them from growing up. In fact, since they go into primary school, they assume leadership roles, class governors. They assume leadership roles by nature. There's something that just drives them to always ensure that, in fact, there's something that has been placed on them that, when they talk, people tend to listen by default. right? It happens. Yes, and we've seen situations, unless we just want to, say, oh, no, no, but we've seen situations like that. Growing up at, primary school, secondary school, they even grow up to be head boy. To university, they turn SUG. So when they come off the university, you see them also going into, when they enter into enterprises, or when they go into I don't want to say political party or anything like that. We see that progression in their life. And we also see some people are not like that. Some people actually they work on themselves to the point whereby you can't overlook them again. Right? So it's very, very important to note that in situations, right, leaders can both, can be made and can also be born. But like you said something vital. Leaders are born, but if you don't, upskill, then in this modern age, your leadership will amount to naught, right? If you don't upskill, if you don't go for, certain TED Talks, speech, go to business training schools to learn more, to see things from different perspectives, to see things from different leaders, then you probably just never, you never go far, as a leader. And these are certain things that, we take into consideration, right? So let's talk about leadership styles, and then we'll go for a break. There are different leadership styles, right, that we see or that we have in this modern age and time, right? Leadership style is the way that individuals or in leadership positions attempt to influence the behavior of others, right? What are some of the styles that we have in this modern age and time? We have, autocratic leaders, right? It's very, very important that we have that at the back of our mind. We have autocratic leaders. These are directive leaders, allowing for little input from subordinates, right? Oh, we have a cyber attack. Oh, do this, do this, do this. The CISO comes out to issue directives. Don't give me any input. I don't want your input right now. Just take step A, B, C, and D to ensure that this thing is done. Are we together? We have people like that. They're called autocratic leaders. They are directive leaders. They don't need your input. They don't allow inputs, or they allow little to no inputs from their subordinates, right? And we have that. We also have, we have 3 types of participating leadership. We also have democratic leadership, right? We have democratic leadership. We want input. What we operate as a democracy, right? Give us your input. It's not a dictatorship, right? Let me hear your input. What is the input? Let me hear what you want. What do you think we should do? How do you think we should do it? We get insights from what? Our teams, our groups, before we think through it and make a final decision through, in some situation, a voting process, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. In organization, we can say, okay, we want to migrate to the cloud. Which cloud should we migrate to? You see someone will say, hey, let's do Google. Some will say, let's do AWS. Some will say, let's do Azure. Okay, you know what? Let's put it to a vote. Which do you think is best for our organization, and why do you think is best? When we have that conversation, we do a poll and say, okay, based on, objectivity, this is what we went through. We have consensual leaders as well, right? They encourage discussion about issues and then require that all parties involved agree to a final decision. So we'll discuss about it. We'll discuss about the issues, and then we'll come to a consensus. We'll reach an agreement together. Okay, based on your input, okay, I think you're right. Okay, based on these things that you raise, okay, I think this is the best approach to do it. Do you get what I'm saying? These are the things that we take into consideration. We have consultative leaders. They confer with, subordinates. They have conversations with subordinates before making a decision. But what? But they retain the final decision-making authority. I will have conversations with my subordinates, but, it's still left to me. I will hear what you want to say, but I still make the final decision, right? Maybe what you tell me would influence my decision. Who knows? But what I'm telling you is I will get your insights. So let me see your line of thoughts. But I still I still have the deciding votes. Are we together? And then we have the third leadership style, which is the free rein leadership, in which managers turn over all authority and control to their subordinates. Do whatever you want to do, right? Do whatever you want to do. We allow you to make decisions. Go ahead and make your decisions, right? As far as they meet client objectives. Do whatever you want to do as far as it meets client objectives. Take whatever approach you want to take as far as it meets what the objectives, as far as it's in alignment with what we intend to achieve. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Before we go for a break, what types of leadership do your bosses use? What type of leadership approach do your bosses use before we go for a break? We'll go for a break 12:05. Let's just discuss. What type of leadership style do your leaders use as of today?
Consensual leaders.
Consensual leaders, right? That's good. That's good. Who else? Who else? Who else? Anybody who wants to also put in one or two? Right? So it's very, very important that, depending on the situation at hand, right, you might use a variety of these things. In some situation, you might want to use an autocratic style because of that, the sensitivity of that, situation, and the urgency of that situation. Are we together? So it's very, very important that we have it at the back of our mind, right? There's no one size fits all. Depending on the situation at hand, depending on the organization, will determine what and what you use or you utilize, right? These are just, this is just a pictorial representation of the leadership styles that we have. All right, so let's go for a break. Let's go for a break now. Let's go for a break now. And hopefully when we come back, it would just, oh, what time do we go for break? Let me even see.
It's actually break.
It's actually break. All right, all right, all right. Thank you. All right, let's go for a break. And when we come
Okay,
back,
please. Yeah.
when we come back, we'll continue with the process and then proceed. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you. Please, we'll be back at exactly 12:30 p.m. Please do not go too far. Thank you.
So that I know we have about 1 hour, 30 minutes to ensure that we conclude this session. Now let's proceed. The next thing I want to talk about now is, employee empowerment, right? It's very, very important. We know what empowerment means, right? Empowerment means giving employee increased, autonomy and discretion to make their own decisions, as well as, have their own control over the resources needed to implement, those decisions, right? So in a more simpler term, right, we would say that, what this typically means is that instead of managers watching your every move, micromanaging you, right, and managing your every decision, we give employees the keys to do whatever they want to do and trust that Trust them to make, the right things happen. Trust them to ensure that everything they do is in alignment with what? Business objectives. Everything they do is in alignment with, value realization for the company. Right? This is us giving them the power. When we say autonomy, we're giving them the power to make decisions, right? We are trusting that, okay, you know what, with respect to how we have led you, right? We trust in your ability to ensure that what you carry out, the right possible decision at the right time. This is what we are talking about, and this is what organizations are leveraging in this age and time. Right? That's why you see in certain situations that we've taught people within the organizations to carry out certain actions. Right? We know that we for example, in a fintech now, we've given them the power to freeze certain suspicious accounts, because we've taught them, we're giving them insights on what to do and how to do it. So we've given them certain power to freeze certain suspicious accounts, and reverse certain transactions without needing the manager's signature, because these are certain things that has been taken into consideration within the organization, because the value here is that it prevents what? Further financial loss. So this is just a means of giving our employees the power and the free will to make their own decisions, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. And what this contradicts or this comes against micromanaging that most organizations still practice, right? Whereby in an organization, you micromanage. You are always at the neck of all your employees. You always want to ensure that you are involved in every decision they take. That's not sustainable. That is not sustainable. That is not sustainable. That's why it's very, very important that we understand and we take these things into consideration. Right? The next thing that I want to talk about is corporate culture. Culture is very, very important. Culture can make or mar an organization. It's very, very important. How you dress, how you think, how you approach work. This is the culture of the organization. Right? The culture of an organization sets, the attitudes, the values, the standards, and the behaviors of an organization, and how it, distinguishes one organization from another organization. For example, in my organization, now one of our corporate culture is that what we've embraced, hybrid work. It means that we work 3 times a week. We go to the office physically 3 times a week, but we work remotely twice a week, right? In some organizations like Paystack, right? Like Paystack or Flutterwave, you could see that or Kuda, they don't do corporate dressing. They don't mandate corporate dressing. You see them, sometimes they do casual dressing. Some employees allow you to plait your hair. Some allow you to wear earrings, right? But some don't allow these things. So these are certain things that we take into consideration, right? These are certain things we take into consideration. In some organizations, the culture enables innovative approach. The culture supports, young workforce. But in other organizations, like all these government organizations, we know formal dressing, structured hierarchy, these are certain things that we take into consideration. But it's also very, very important for me to tell you on this call that, a culture of an organization can make or mar an organization. I've worked with an organization whereby that culture is so terrible. It's so terrible. Their work rate approach is terrible. It's so terrible, right? They don't put in the amount of work, and it's what they've seen. Most people model what they see in an organization. If we come into an organization and we see how top management, and we see the approach of top management to work, then automatically it cascades down and they also start operating in a lackadaisical manner, right? And that's why this is pretty important. Are we together? That's why it's very important. And these are things that we take into consideration. One of the things that we need to get right is the culture of our organization. right? One of the things that we need to get right is the culture of our organization. Different organizations, different culture. If I were to ask you on the call now for you to list how you operate, and I asked another organization, someone on this call from another organization, to also list or establish or document how they operate or how they work, you see that most times they're entirely different. And sometimes it's different, right? If I should ask you on the call, how many people have embodied a hybrid work model? On this call, how many of your employees, how many of you have embodied hybrid work model? How many people on this call have embodied hybrid work model? Right? If we're to ask that call, you see that some people would say yes, they do hybrid. Some will say no, they've not. Right? Depending on the culture of the organization. Are we together? Depending on the culture of the organization. Right? Now let's proceed. The look and feel of an organization is also depending on the culture. In some organizations, they are more free-spirited. I've been to an organization, I've worked with an organization whereby they have a open door policy, right? Everybody's door is open. Everybody's door is open. The manager's door is open. You can come in at every point in time. There's literally no door. So they said there's this open door. I forgot if, I don't know if I'm saying the right terminology for it, but they say it's open door or something policy, whereby there's no lock, you can walk into anybody's office, ask anything at any point in time. You see different organizations whereby they also have, PlayStation in the organization. They have beds in the organization. They have snooker in the organization because that's their culture. They believe that, for us, it's not... for us, when we talk about work, we're not talking about do or die. Work is a place whereby you're comfortable. Work is a place whereby you're good. You can take naps. You can go outside when you're tired. You go outside to, clear your head. It's not the same with other organizations. Other organizations, you leave your desk, you get sanctions, you get queries, right? And these are things that, we take into consideration. And these are some of the things that, we consider. Now we want to get to the fourth function of managers, which is controlling, right? Controlling. How do you control? How do you ensure that you assess the organization's process towards achieving or accomplishing its goals, right? When we talk about control, what are some of the things that you take into consideration, right? Control helps, ensuring that, plans become results. We assess the organization's process against what? Accomplishing its goals. We enforce some sort of controls. We monitor what you are doing. We ensure that what you are doing is in alignment with what our target state. Do you get? We correct deviations from the plan. When we see that you are derailing, we alert you. These are certain things that we take into consideration. What are some of the control measures that you've put in place to ensure that the goals are achieved? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that how do we ensure that the project deliverables are being met? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we take into consideration. How do we ensure that we are meeting up with our targets, our strategic objectives? What are the controls that we've put in place to ensure that we meet up with this? What are the control measures that we put in place to ensure that when we are derailing, we get notified? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we take into consideration. And you can see some of the control processes. Set performance standards and goals. When we set performance standards and goals, it gives us a clear direction into where we are going, into where we intend to be. Measure performance based on what you set. This is what we said we want to do. What are we doing right now? Are we performing in alignment with what we've documented? Compare what? Actual performance with what? The established standards. This is what we said we want to do. This is what we've done. Where are the variations? Do you get? These are certain things that we take into consideration. Oh, these are the variations. These are the gaps. Plan what? Corrective actions to remediate those gaps. And then use what? That information to continually improve the process. These are the things that we take into consideration. In some organizations, that's why, in some organizations, they have, departments called internal control, internal audit. These are the departments that ensures that we don't derail from our objectives, or we don't derail from our goals. Are we together? And these are some of the things that we should ensure that we take into consideration, right? What are examples of control mechanisms within an organization? You can see we have rules and regulation. Right? When we started this call, I asked what are some of the issues and challenges that, we face, right? Some said, conformance to policy. How can you ensure that, people keep conforming, or people conform to the policies, or people are compliant to the policies that we've set? Right? These are some things that we take into consideration. I've seen organizations say, because of this, what we'll do is we'll do quarterly reviews. Some will say, for this, we'll do quarterly simulations. We've sent out information security policies or processes, right? We've told you what to do and what not to do. We'll do simulations, phishing test simulations. If they click on it, we know that they're not conforming to the policies that we set. They're not paying attention to it. Once we do that and we see that they breach it, we take them on another awareness session. We do evaluations. We set security standards. Are we together? These are the things that we have. We put OKRs. Every department has its KPI. Every individual has its OKRs. These are things that we put in place. These are measures that we put in place to control, to put some form of control in ensuring that we achieve our desired outcome and output. Right? These are some of the things that we take into considerations. These are some of the things that we do. Are we together? These are some of the things that we ensure that we do. We set KPIs for a reason. We set KPIs for a reason. To ensure that there are certain goals that we've specified that you need to ensure that you meet up. These are control measures. These are control measures that we put together as an organization. These are things that we take into consideration. Right? These are things that we take into consideration. Now let's talk about some other managerial roles. You can see the different categories that they fall into. Informational roles, interpersonal roles, decision roles. Information roles, the manager just acts as what? Information gatherer, an information distributor, or a spokesperson for the company. Right? Informational role. You're just an information gatherer. You distribute what information? You serve as a spokesman for the company. So you are the person who, addresses CBN, who communicates to CBN on our behalf, who you communicate regulations. You are the one who speaks to who speaks with or to, certain regulatory requirements. These are some of the things that, we take into consideration. Interpersonal roles are based on various interactions with other people. Decisional role, a manager may have to think like an entrepreneur, making decisions about, resource allocations, helping resolve conflicts or negotiate compromise. These are some of the things that, we take into consideration. These are some of the things that we take into consideration. Right? Interpersonal roles are based on various interactions with other people. They can handle customer complaints. Since they interact with customers, they handle customer complaints, etc. Right? But like I said, this is not cast in stone, right? Not all organizations utilizes this. In fact, we don't utilize this in my organization, if I'm being honest. Right? Not all organizations will utilize all of these things. So this is not cast in stone. Right? This is not primarily, cast in stone. The different organizations with different nomenclatures, different organizations with different approach in doing this. I hope we are together. Right? I hope we're together. Now let's proceed. Decision making means choosing amongst alternatives, right? We have programmed decisions. We also have, non-programmed decisions, right? These are things that, we take into consideration. Program decisions are made in response to what? Routine situations. It's programmed. We know it will happen, and we have responses for it, right? Oh, there's a downtime. Oh, okay, we're sorry for the downtime. You would resolve this issue would be resolved back in, in 10 minutes. Some we programmed it. Oh, sorry, we've seen that, oh, you've experienced this particular issue. What will happen is in 10 working days, in 7 working days, if you don't see a reversal, contact us. We'll ensure that, we'll track the back end to ensure this is done. This is programmed. It's expected. It's expected. Right? It's expected. Non-programmed decisions are responses to, unforeseen situations. Unforeseen situations or infrequent or unusual problems and opportunities where, we don't have a precedent to follow in decision making. Right? Something that, we don't expect. For example, we've seen that every 6 months, in some organizations, every 6 months, there's salary increment. In some organizations, it's every year, right? So they've clearly specified that, every year, in some organizations, every 2 years. So depending on your organization, right? So primarily, we know that it's confirmed, when you have your letter, these are conversations that you already have. Okay, every 2 years, you'd increase us, blah, 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 blah. It's clearly defined. So you've waited, though, and that year, something happens. Let's say you or your organization didn't make the necessary inflow of revenue that they expected, and they couldn't do salary increment for that year, and it has never happened since you've been working in 4 or 5 years. It's unusual. It's something that is unexpected. Then you now need to start having, you need to start looking for how to effectively manage that situation. If it's to hold meetings with individuals and tell them, let them understand that this is it, 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 so that at least they understand, what and why you're taking that, why this, is not happening. Right? These are certain things that we take into considerations. These are certain things that we take into considerations. These are certain things that we take into consideration. This is just a pictorial representation of what we are trying to, explain. This is informational roles. This is interpersonal roles that you can see. And yes, this interpersonal role and information role. So we can all go and check that diagram or that picture when we're less busy. Right? Good. Let us proceed because, we have a lot to cover. And I want us to ensure that, we cover everything. Right? This is just a continuation of, whether a decision is programmed or non-programmed. As you can see, managers typically follow 5 steps in the decision-making process. Recognize or define the problem or opportunity. Gather information so you identify alternative solutions or actions to take. Select one or more alternatives, right? After evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of each possibility, put the chosen alternative into actions and also gather information to obtain feedback on the effectiveness of the chosen plan. So this is just giving you insights on the approach to take, right, in addressing in making certain decisions. Recognize or define the problem or opportunity. Understand what you're trying to do. Understand the impact that this would have on the organization. These are certain things that you take into considerations. Gather every information to know your best approach to respond, right? Select what? Your response based on the information you've been able to gather, and put the chosen alternative into action, and then gather information to obtain feedback. These are certain things that we take into consideration. You can see this is what a decision-making process, right? Define the problem, identify the possible solutions, select one or more alternatives, put the plan into actions, and follow up to see if the problem has been resolved. This is what a decision-making process. Oh, we are faced with an issue. Okay, we've defined the problem. We understand the impact to the organization. We understand the risk. We understand everything. We see that what are some of the solutions to tackle this with? A, B, C, D can be done. What is the effect of applying A, B, C, D? Which one do you think would have maximum reception? Let's select option C. I want to believe that's what they will flow with well. We see option C and we utilize it and we put it in actions and we follow up and we review it if it has been effective or not. These are the things that we take into consideration, right? So we said that to be successful in we said that for managers to be effective and efficient, they need to plan, organize, lead, and control. But to be successful in planning, organizing, leading, and control, there are certain skill sets that you need to have. Technical skill sets, right? You need to have hands-on experience in lots of solutions, in lots of systems, right? You need to have good fundamentals in Excel. In some situations, you need to know how banking operation works. In some situations, you need to know how managing project works. In some situations, you need to know how cloud environments work. These are certain skill sets that you need to have to be successful in planning, organizing, leading, controlling, right? I am a manager within my organization, but that doesn't stop me from having technical skills, right? I have IT skills, I have Microsoft skills, I have Microsoft Azure skills, I have AWS skills, I have cybersecurity, I have information security, I have enterprise architecture skill, I have COBIT skill, I have business continuity skills, I have risk management skill sets. The reason why I have to equip myself, with respect to all of this is so that when my team members come to me for solutions, I can give them objective solutions. The day you stop giving them objective solutions as a leader and as a manager in some situations, then we might as well take away the title from you. That's why you have to stay ahead of the curve. Very, very important. You have to stay ahead of the curve, right? You also need to have human relationship skill. You need to have interpersonal skill. You need to know how to converse with your employees. You need to ensure that you know how to resolve conflicts. You need to ensure that you have emotional intelligence. These are the things that you need to ensure that you take into consideration. You see people in your organizations fighting or bickering. You need to know where to put your foot down and tell them this is wrong. And you also need to know how to also tell them that I know this is wrong, but doesn't mean that you two should not start acting like kids and start affecting your deliverables or your operations. No, you have to know how to do that. You also need to have, conceptual skill, the ability to view the entire organization and understand how various parts work as a system. You need to understand the overall business strategy. You need to understand the goal of the business, the objective of the business, and how every action or activity influences our objective as an organization. These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we factor into consideration, right? These are things that we factor into consideration, right? You can see they asking the question that what special skills does a manager need when he or she accepts and oversees assignments? You need to understand various things like learning new language. You need new skill set, these specific skill set, understanding cultural customs, laws. There are different there are different laws that affect different jurisdiction. There are different cultural customs, there are different laws, different languages, different practices. Let me use this perfect example. I was interacting with this man in the US, and he called himself, or he tagged himself on LinkedIn as a global leader. like a global leader. I have my this, that. So, I was engaging him, and it's typical of us in Nigeria to see someone of that caliber and, talk to him with respect. And I was like, oh, good morning, sir. This. I know you're well versed in this, but I want to ensure that. And the guy thought that me saying sir, me addressing him as sir, was me kissing ass. Pardon my language. That's what, what's another word that they use? Me trying to what's this? Me being political in that sense. And I was trying to make him understand that, dude, that's how we speak over here. The way we see someone of that age, of that caliber, we address you as sir. And if we want to address you, there are certain tone of respect that we bring into it. Right? He didn't understand that. He didn't understand that part, that's how we do here. I walk from certain locations in Africa, and there are certain situations whereby I go to speak with a manager and I say, oh, good morning, ma, how are you doing, ma? And they are so shocked that I address them as ma, because most people in that country or in that region, they call them by name. They call, you see your leaders. I know that you see someone so old and you're addressing him by his name, his first name. In some situations, you see someone as old enough, you're saying, Margaret, what's it, Tunde, or that kind of thing. In some situations, they say, in their mind, they might not say anything because it's corporate, but that can even affect your promotion on a very big level. Are we together? These are things that we take, and it's so alarming. So that's why, when you see certain places, we go to projects, and a colleague of mine said he went there and he was like, oh, good morning, sir, how are you doing today? So I hope you're well. And he was shocked. The person that we went to do a project at the client side, and the client called his employees and told them that, did you hear that? Said it verbally. Then, did you hear that? Like, did you hear that? Did you see that? You would know that, cultural customs differ. And these are things that, primarily we take into consideration, right? We take into consideration, right? This is just showing us how important, these skills are, depending on the level of management that you belong to. Right? Top management, right? Primarily, you should have conceptual skills and human skills. Middle management, you should have human skills. Supervisory management, you should have human technical. In some organization, right, you need to have 3, because, not all enterprise organizations, not all small SMBs will have top management, middle management, supervisory management. Some is just one management they have because of their size. So in some situations, top management will need to have all these 3 skill sets, depending on, the organization that we are addressing, right? I hope we're together. I hope we're still together, right? Good. Let us proceed. The next thing that we want to talk about is, knowing how to get business goals. Knowing how to get business goals. Are we together? Are we still together? Have we signed off? Have we zoned out? Are we together?
We're still together, sir.
All right, perfect. Don't worry, we're almost done. I know you might be tired, but we are almost done, right? We're almost done. So let us proceed. How to set business goals. Very, very important. There's something called the SMART acronym. Right? SMART acronym. SMART, S means what? Specific. M means what? Anybody? SMART, that's an acronym. S means specific. M means measurable. A means what? Achievable or attainable. R means what? Realistic or relevant. T means what? Timely or time bound. So when we are setting business goals, your business goals has to be smart, right? It has to be smart. It has to be smart. It has to be specific so you know what it's trying to address. It has to be measurable. This is the percentage of what we need you to do. It has to be achievable, not something that is outrageous that can be achieved in this financial year or in 2 financial years. Right? It has to be relevant. It has to address a need. It has to be important to your organization. And time bound. You have to attach or affix a time to it. Very, very important. Right? So as you can see, setting clear and achievable business goal is critical for success. Right? And these are things that you want to take into consideration. Right? Your goals should be well defined. So that it provides what? Directions, and it improves decision making, and it helps you measure progress. These are the things that you want to ensure that you take into consideration. So what are some of the things that you take into consideration when defining a business goal? First, understand what your vision and mission is. Start with a clear vision. Where do you see yourself as a business in the future? Establish a mission statement that outlines the purpose for your organization. You know, we've looked at all of these things prior to now. Ensure that the goals that you have is what is in alignment with your vision and your mission. When we've done all of those, envisioning, the next thing that we want to take into consideration is ensure that what we define smart goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. These are the things that we take into consideration. So if you've documented goals and objectives, it should be smart. So go back and review all your objectives within the organization and ensure that it is smart, right? Ensure that it is smart. And you also want to categorize your goals. You know, we have short-term goals, we have medium-term goals, we have long-term goals, right? Long-term goals, you know, let's say probably in 3 to 5 years, we'll get it sorted. Medium-term goals in 1 to 3 years. Short-term goals achievable within, 3 to 12 months. Are we together? You can see sample examples. Are we together? And once we've documented these goals, the next thing is you want to prioritize these goals, which is more impactful to the organization. Which one should we implement first? Are we together? Which one should we implement first? Right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. You can see the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. 80% of results often come from 20% of efforts, as simple as that. All you need to apply is just 20% of efforts in some situations to see or to observe or to achieve 80% of results. Right? These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. Prioritize, focus on the most impactful goal first. It's very, very important. Which one should we do? Which one would be more impactful to our organization? Which one, in order of importance, which one should we do first? Which one do we do second? Which one should we do third? Which one should we do fourth? You know, these are things that we take into consideration. Then what you want to do next is develop an action plan. This is what we want to achieve. How do we achieve it? That's where the action plan comes into play. These are the steps that we need to put in place to achieve all of these things. Are we together? After we've defined the action plan and we've implemented the action plan, we monitor and track the progress of our action plans. These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. I hope we are together. These are the things that we want to ensure that we take into consideration. So as leaders, these are some of the things that you envision. These are some of the things that you do, right? These are some of the things that you do, right? Next thing you also want to take into consideration is stay flexible and adapt. Change is constant, right? There are situations whereby you might need to revise your goals, your objectives, because change is constant. So you have to always ensure that you stay flexible and you adapt. There are some situations that some new regulatory requirements will come up, some new insights will come up that would mandate that you change some of your, goals and some of your objectives. It's very, very important that you are already built in a way that you are so flexible and you can adapt to changes as they come, right? And after that, celebrate milestones, understand that, you need to recognize and reward achievements, because that, helps motivations, that keeps you motivated. That helps your organization that helps people in your organization to, put in more efforts. Are we together? These are things that we take into consideration, and these are things that we adapt and implement. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Or any questions so far? Are we good to go? Good to go, good to go, good to go. Right? Good. It shows that some of us went to Man of War, Boy Scouts. Right? Are we good to go? Are we motivated? Motivated, motivated, motivated.
Yes, sir,
Right?
we're motivated.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now let's proceed. Right, we have just about 17 slides to go. So we would be done, by God's grace, we'll be done by 2 or before 2, depending on how fast, we do go. The next thing we want to talk about is how you identify business opportunities. And this is one of the things that, I've seen some leaders struggle with, right? How to identify business opportunities. And this, I won't lie, I've seen a lot of people struggle with it. Identifying opportunities is very, very critical in any organization in expanding a successful venture, right? I've worked with an organization whereby, it's, getting or utilizing or winning certain opportunities becomes a chore, and there are certain situations and there are certain reasons why sometimes you're not able to identify, recognize, or take advantage of certain opportunities. And that's what we want to discuss, now. So let's proceed. There are some key strategies to help you recognize and evaluate, potential opportunities. Number 1, identify market gaps and unmet needs. What are the problems in my industry? What are the problems in my environment? What are the problems in Nigeria? What are the problems in Ghana? What are the problems in Kenya? What are the problems in Uganda? What are some of the problems, technology problems that we are facing that we need to create, solutions for? These are things that we take into consideration. What are some of the problems that we have in Nigeria? Not spiritual problems, so operational problems. They say in some countries, they say it's not just operational problems. Some problems past problems. But in this situation, what are some of the problems that we have in your countries? In Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, what are some of the problems that we face daily that we would need to identify solutions for? What are our customers' pain points, and how can we provide a solution for them? Review our existing products and services. What is missing and what can be improved? Check our feedback. What are our customers demanding and requesting for that we can also implement, or we can also introduce that feature? These are the things that we ask ourselves. These are the things that we take into consideration. Analyze industry trends. Analyze emerging markets. Stay ahead. Stay current. Right? Follow global trends, sustainability, digital transformation, automation. What are the industry trends? What are the things that we need to take into considerations? What are the things that we need to adopt? What are the things that the Fortune 500 companies are using? What are the strategies that they are implementing? These are the things that we take into consideration. What are our competitors leveraging or utilizing? What makes them better than us? What technologies are they using? And how can we, close that gap ASAP? Identify issues, identify insights, identify opportunities. Study customer behavior and patterns. I said customer feedback will give you, lots of insightful information. When we ask for customer feedback, we ask them, how can we do better? What are some of the features that you're expecting that we've not, provided yet? You get insights from them. Oh, you guys haven't done virtual cards. Why? It gives you more insights, and it helps, how you further innovate solutions. You see what people are talking about. You see what your customers are talking about. You see, you understand the needs of your customers. Right? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we understand. Leverage your skills, your strength, and your passion. Let me ask you this question. How can we, as an organization, know what our strengths are? There is a methodology that we can use. I've seen organizations use. There's something called the SWOT analysis, right? The strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats. But in these situations, we are more concerned about your strengths and the opportunities that you can leverage. Leverage your skills. Understand what your skills are. Understand what your expertise are. Understand the opportunities that you have around you. Look at your strengths. Look at your network. Look at your employees. Leverage them. Leverage your skill set. Explore technological innovations. The world of AI, machine learning. Leverage new technologies. If you don't leverage AI in this modern age and time, you will be left behind. I mean, I was thinking about creating a personal profile, a web profile for myself. And, I just thought about it, that instead of stressing myself and, doing WordPress, I just clicked on Base 44, an AI platform. I want to create a personal profile. Use this. This is my portfolio. This is my sent it PowerPoint of everything I've done. Use this to create, a personal page that puts pictures, everything there. Lo and behold, within 3 minutes, I had my personal page. I had my personal page ready to deploy, ready to publish online within 3 minutes. I sat down, I said, okay, you know what? I want to have a task management, a personal task management platform for my company. I don't want to go and start, paying for anything. I went to Base 44. Create me a project management or task management platform that might make me assign, upload. Bro, within 5 minutes, I had that platform. Just like that. Deployed, the database was created. Everything was created for me. These are things that we're talking about. Technology has, the way technology is evolving. If you don't stay ahead of the curve, you'll be left behind. You will definitely be left behind. And these are things that we need to ensure that we review. These are things that we need to ensure that, we take into considerations. Right? These are things that we need to ensure that we review or take into consideration. Are we together? Monitor competitors and industry leaders. Study what other businesses are doing. Look for weaknesses in competitors' offering. Look at what you can do better or cheaper. These are some of the things that you take into consideration. These are some of the things that you take into consideration. Are we together? Evaluate economic and regulatory changes. This is also very, very important. Keep track of governmental policies. Keep track of tax incentives and economic shifts. No one has created, I know that with this new tax initiative that the government are imposing on us, right? No one has created I don't know if anyone has created a platform that shows us real time, an application that shows us how to easily calculate our tax that I'll be paying from next year. Oh, this is what I do. This is what I earn. These are some of the side businesses I do. These are the amounts. What are some of how will this tax influence? There should be an application. You can use AI to build it ASAP. Right? These are things that we take into consideration. New policies will bring new opportunities. New economic policies, new governmental policies will bring new opportunities, new initiatives. I know it's not good, but it will still bring initiatives and some people will benefit from it. And that's how we take, some of these things into consideration. Right? You also want to ensure that you network. You also want to ensure that you network and collaborate. Very, very important, because that's where you get partnerships. That's where you get people to work with. That's where you do joint ventures. These are certain things that we take into consideration. Right? And also you want to test and validate your ideas. You also should test and validate your idea. Right? Before fully committing, test your idea with small scale launch and prototype, gather feedback from potential customers, and also refine your approach. These are things that will take into consideration. Always test it. You will have a target group that you should test your ideas with regularly before you before you do a wide scale rollout. Are we together? These are some of the things that we take into consideration. Now let us proceed. Now we want to talk about what are some trends in management and leadership. These are very, very important. 3 important trends in management are crisis management, the use of outside directors to provide management controls, and the growing use of information technology. This is very, very important. We've talked about crisis management, and lots of things could go wrong. There was one time whereby we had the Japa syndrome, whereby organizations were running left and right. Crisis management, staff attrition rate. People were leaving the country left and right. Businesses started falling short in manpower. You need to have plans, contingency plans to help you mitigate some of these things. COVID struck. Most businesses were wiped out from the continent because, they didn't plan ahead. They didn't have contingencies. Cyber attack hit your organization and you can't operate again because you didn't plan ahead. What are contingencies plans that you put in place? Have you tested these plans? These are some of the things that you take into consideration. Have you tested this plan? Have you tested if a fire should erupt in our company now? How can we continue business as usual? Do you have an alternate site to work from? If your server should fail, bam. Now, how do you ensure that your process and services are still available and operational? These are the things that we take into consideration. These are the things that we need to review. Are we together? Crisis management. This is just a case study, right? We can do this later, right? We can do this later. We can do this later, right? We can do this later. So let's proceed. We can do all of these things later, right? But this is me just giving you certain insights into crisis management. Are we together? This is me giving you insights into crisis management. Let me give a perfect example that I know that has happened. For example, right? Yes, let me do this. There was a time whereby, we had protests in Nigeria, right? We had protests in Nigeria, and it was so massive that, there was no movement for 3 days, 3 or 4 days. And it was only organizations who had a contingency plans that could operate. They had remote working policy whereby they could connect to VPNs and then, access internal resources. Right? These are things that you take into consideration. There are times whereby globally, whereby some hurricanes will hit a certain region. How then can you continue business as usual if you've not planned effectively and efficiently, if you don't have alternative sites, if you don't have regional redundancy? These are things that will take into consideration. Right? And that's why we also always advise the organizations implement business continuity 2301, because that will effectively help you manage everything in respect to crisis management. Are we together? These are certain things that we take into consideration. These are certain things that we take into consideration. These are just, certain pictorial insights from people in managing crisis. Trends in information technology, we've talked about this, right? You need to jump on the trends. Very, very important. You need to leverage AI. You need to leverage machine learning. You need to leverage the cloud. These are technologies that you need to leverage if you don't want to be left behind. These are things that you want to leverage if you don't want to be left behind. People are leveraging AI in their platforms to simplify process. People are automating processes. And you as an organization, you are still operating traditionally. You are still operating in an archaic manner. You don't want to do that because you won't proceed. You won't grow. You'll be stagnant. That's why you always have to ensure that you're staying ahead of the trends. That's why you want to ensure that you are staying ahead of the trends. Are we together? What are the latest technologies? What are the latest features that we need to introduce into our solutions? Or we need to leverage? These are things that you need to have conversations around. How can I integrate AI agents into our mobile applications? Right? Managing multinational cultures, organizations that extend their businesses into different countries. There are cultural differences that you need to take into consideration. There are certain countries whereby as a Nigerian, you can't easily go and get business. You have to get someone from that country that would, that would serve as the front runner of the business. There are different multinational cultures that you need to factor. Languages, how they behave, how they respond to thoughts, how they respond to voices. These are things that we take into consideration as managers. And we need to ensure that, we influence and we implement. Are we together? These are some of the things that we take into consideration. These are some of the things that we want to ensure that we do. It's not the same way you're operating in Nigeria that you operate in Ghana. It's not the same way you operate in Ghana that you operate in Kenya. It's not the same way you operate in Africa that you operate in Europe or America. These are things that we take into consideration. These are things that as management, we have to think about and we have to stay ahead. Now, this is your assignment. This is your assignment for the week. This is your assignment for the week, and this is who you should submit it to. Right? I don't know the time. I don't know how long the time is, but I believe someone from Transformation College has already informed you of what to do or how to approach it. Right? So this is the assignment. This is your take-home assignment. So please enable to do the assignment. Right? So please, any question? This is question and answers. Any question? Anybody, any question? Any question whatsoever? Any questions whatsoever? Anybody? Any questions? Any questions? Anybody?
Okay. Can I ask?
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, so I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for the teaching from beginning to the end. Is 100%, and I've learned a lot. I want to ask a question regarding when you spoke about the AI side of things of the
Yes,
organization.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead,
Now,
sir.
I've discovered that most CEOs, most of their PAs currently are just AI, most especially ChatGPT. You see a CEO who wants to speak with and the members of the team, he or she has to go to AI, ChatGPT to do some discussion with ChatGPT and come with the knowledge. So my question now is one of the requirement of getting a PA then, like physical PA and executive assistant, is someone who can be able to think and act fast without or no supervision. Now, with the coming of AI, is he not going to render our knowledge, how will I call it, render our knowledge invaluable, which is one. And secondly, will it not make people not be able to think the way they ought to think? Because I can still attest to that. There are some business currently, they are abolished, when you are in the managerial role, they abolished AI in their operations. They want to think with their heads, innovations, and come in to make solution work. So how can we balance this thing so that we can have a good organization? Thank you.
I agree. I 100% agree with you, right? And there's something that I even appreciate more, because we are thankful for the fact that at least we've been using our line of thought prior before AI. I believe for some of us here, probably last year, or probably started using ChatGPT probably last year or thereabout. But prior to now, we've been utilizing our line of thought. We've been critically doing research and critically, thinking to get our solutions. At least, so we were better off. My concern is for people who are just starting and everything is, we call them AI focused generation or AI thought generation, right? For those ones, yes, I have more concerns about that. But to now go back to your question, it's also very, very important for us to know that, AI is not meant to take over our thinking, the way we think, right? We're meant to use AI, not AI doing the work for us, right? So where people do the mistake is, their prompting is not thoughtful. What do I mean? Right? If you're trying to get insights from AI, okay, these are what I have done so far, and these are what I have suggested so far. So I want you to review this my line of thought. I want to review this strategy and how it would affect this going forward. We're not saying that you should just go and say, okay, for example, let me give you a perfect example, right? So in a company, a true life story, an organization, a boss came and dropped that, okay, this is our strategy. CEO came, dropped our strategy for 2026, right? And assigned it to certain people. And was they saying that, okay, what and how would we approach this, and this for 2026? These are things I really think about. Someone came out, typed it very well. Oh, this is what I want. This is it. Well, boss, these are things that we need to do. And someone just went. I want to believe that the person went, pick that image that was shared, drop it on ChatGPT. How do I address this? And ChatGPT brought out 10, 12, or 15 things, generic things. The guy copied it and pasted it on the group. Bam. Right? I'm sure even the CEO knew that, bro, this guy is just, this guy is just, what's this? And when it's AI written, when it's AI generated. It's not, that there are different things that comes into consideration. So the issue, or what I think people do that is wrong, is leveraging solely on what? AI. I know that AI was created to assist us, to help us improve our work rate, right? To help us, streamline processes more, to help us, reduce the number of hours that would literally take us to start doing research here and there. Do you get? Prior to now, if you wanted to make certain, we would go to Google and we'd do research on certain things. Okay, this is how organizations, this is what did Microsoft did. It gives us more insights to now. And I also want to state that, see, the same research that we would do online, typically without the introduction of ChatGPT now, whereby we go to Google and we'll do all of these searches, is the same thing that ChatGPT is doing, only faster. Because if we're being honest, the data source, the data that was used to train ChatGPT was what? Data from Google. Do you get? The only difference is that people are not data from Google and other different sources. Don't let me limit it and say just Google. Right? There are different other data sources. But the only issue that people make is that they don't fact check. They don't also, they believe the word of AI as God, which is a lie. right? There are lots of hallucinations. There are lots of wrong information from AI, and that's where people mix it, and that's where people get it wrong. AI is meant to support you, not take over your thinking process. AI is not the word of God. Like, it's not the word of God. It's very, very important that we note that it was gotten from, there are different data sources that, it was trained on. How am I even supposed to understand or fact check the line of thought of the data source, of the person who published the data source that you are using? Do you understand? So these are certain things that we take into consideration. And that's what, that's what affects some people. So I've seen organizations say that, you know what, for every strategy document you have, we would run it through a GPT detector, right? We run it through a GPT detector. I know you say, oh, I want to take it to keyboard. See, all those GPT platforms that are not paid, if you use a paid license to detect it, they would still detect that, what you're using is what? GPT. Right? So I've seen organizations state that, there are certain strategy documents that they will run through. See, I know of a CISO. I'm telling you outrightly, who mentioned it? I know of a CISO that, everything is ChatGPT right now. It's ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is literally not the word of God. I know that it probably helps you, right? It helps you with respect to your delivery, right? But that's not the word of God. You should be able to balance it. You should be able to fact check it. In my industry, this thing will work. This can work, Joe, right? Or you align it and you prompt engineer it effectively with every methodology and every nomenclature with your prior research and tell it to build on this research. That's a different ballgame entirely, right? So there are different approaches that I've seen organizations take. Either ensure that, most of their strategy documents will go through a solution that helps you detect if it was written by AI or not, or ban AI. You can block it on your firewall. You can block it and say, okay, nobody in my you can limit it to separate VLANs or specific VLANs, right? Probably management subnet. Say, okay, these people, let them not have access to ChatGPT at all, right? There's different control measures that you can take into consideration, but if you block it on your network, doesn't mean that they won't still use it on their mobile phone that is not connected to your company network. Do you get what I'm saying? So what you just want to ensure that you do is, ensure that you do due diligence. That's what you can do in your organizations. Ensure that you always do due diligence. In fact, there are some AI written reports, there's some AI written documentation that that, Charlie, this is AI, right? These are certain things that we take into consideration. So, it's now left to your organization and the culture of your organization to find a control around how that is done. I hope that helped. I hope that helped a little.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
All right, perfect. Any other question?
I think I need to ask another one.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Last week we had last week lectures. We had the lecturer that was taking the course spoke about the informal managers. And with her presentation, her teaching, she said informal managers are those managers who they are not the direct boss, but they are the influencer in a team. And this week we're talking about leadership in an organization. And here comes to my question. So I need to take you back so that you understand where I'm coming from. Now, when it comes to leadership, and we like you made mention of, you might be effective, but you're not. You might be efficient, and you're not. So you might be effective and you're not efficient. And
Yes.
sometimes the informal managers are more efficient and effective in some of the things. And sometimes when it comes down to the era of promotion in an organization, you tend to see some of the line managers, like the top those like the COO, the CFO, like you made mention of, are
Yes,
more
please.
biased
That's not true.
of
That's
promotions. Either they are more about who gives them who gives them thanks for coming, for example, when they
So
comes to the
true.
office or in their celebration, who celebrate their
So,
birthday,
so true. So true.
or
So
who is from their tribes,
that
who is from their tribe,
that tribe.
or someone
Exactly.
who is more proactive to their cause, most especially when they want to send one or two jekuje errands. So my question now is,
True,
how
true,
do we
true.
balance this in an organizational structure? Because I have an organization who the boss had to bring the cousin to head the accounting unit. It has to
Imagine.
bring their he has to the CO brought their neighbor who has to head the business support unit, something like that. And in such ways, if you want to take some actions to make things right in an organization, you might be reserved because this is your cousin, this is your neighbor. What will my mother
Yes,
say?
please.
What will my mother,
Okay.
elder brother say? Something like that. So how do we balance organizational structure
Hmm.
to make the leadership effective, to make things right, so that when it's time for promotion or whatsoever, we are not biased about it? So that's my question. Thank
To be honest, I'll speak from my own my own understanding and knowledge, because if we're being realistic, this has existed from from way back, and it's not even experienced globally in our, not just even our enterprise organizations, but in governmental positions. It's what we see around us, and it's so terrible. And I think I don't want to say, because I haven't really been abroad before, so I can't really say that, probably it's an African mentality thing, right? But I want to believe that it's probably an African mentality thing, right? But people who have traveled overseas on this call, please, if you have other insights that you can share, that would be lovely. But to me, I would say it still boils down to the culture of the organization. There are some organizations that can never allow you employ your brother, your sister, your family member. It's not possible, right? So it still boils down to the culture of the organization. And let's be realistic. Let's not talk as if we don't know how the business is, right? You have to be very diplomatic in organizations in this modern age and time. There are office politics, and we all are aware. It's not too new. It's like it's expected now, right? When I started working, I met office politics, right? Till now, I still see office politics, and when I retire, there will still be office politics, right? So there's a limit to what we can do, right? If I'm being honest, in another man's organization, another man's company, because he knows what he wants to do with his company. The culture that he has set is what we would follow, right? We can't come and stand against it. We can share our insight. We can share opportunity initiatives. I know sometimes when they do polls, anonymous surveys, we can chip some of these things. Because if you do on anonymous surveys, it can cost you your job in some situations, right? So I have seen situations whereby, the informal, like you said, the informal manager, someone that that this guy is right for the job. But, some situations, they just feel threatened that, oh, if I give this guy the position, he might start, acting out. Let me stall. Let me not give him that position. In some situations, it might be that this guy he might be an informal manager, but, his hand is not free. He doesn't know how to gift people. He doesn't know how to pay homage, right? So these are some of the things that we take into consideration. So in any organization where I find myself, even if it's working with a client, I tend to study the culture of the organization. Okay, these are the people that we're working with. I study them, I see how they talk, I see how they relate. I see, okay, I know that, okay, for us to have a good project relationship here, these and these and these are things that we need to do, right? So, I won't lie and say this is what you need to do. No, in those situations, there's no written rule in resolving that, because, like I said, it's a cultural thing. It's what has existed before you came into existence. Your best bet is, by God's grace, if you find yourself in that particular position, you can rewrite and you can restructure the organization, if I'm being honest, right? But we saying outrightly that, okay, you know what, we can call them out. We can know in some organizations that can work for you. In a lawless country, that will not work for you. Let me give an example, right? I work out of Ghana, and there's something called the labor force. What this is saying is this. So now, if an organization, this happens, and I raise an alarm that I'm sorry I don't agree with this because I believe that I'm best suited for this role and I believe that I drop blah, 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 blah. If I raise my concern, and you fire me, or you query me, or you let me go, I can raise an issue with the labor force. And the labor force will come to my advantage and we will sue you and you will pay me the amount of money that I need to be paid before I get a new job. There's a law here that, that can help you. But in Nigeria, I don't think there's any law. But in Nigeria, I don't think there's any law that can help you with respect to that. Do you understand what I'm saying? No disrespect to our country, right? But this is just me thinking out loud, right? So in those situations, I don't think there's one thing that you can do. What you can do is just be the change that you hope to see, right? Be the change that you hope to see. When you see situations to, change certain things within the organization, try and start, recommending these changes here and there so that at least it's for the betterment of, the organization generally, right? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, and I hope, you understand where I'm headed. Are we together? Do you get what I'm trying to say? I know we have lots of other industry experts here. Who else wants to jump on this? Are we together? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I hope you do understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, clearly.
Okay, perfect. Who else wants to add a thing or two, please?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Jackson, good afternoon, sir.
How are you today? Let me just let a voice to some of the questions that our classmates raised. And I think most of the things you said, you are quite right in in the response. One thing is very clear. In every organization, there are all kinds of challenges. And every organization will come up and they will say, oh, we want to put what I'll call a performance management structure in place. But I can also tell you, in the midst of all those structure, in the midst of all those governance that they have put in place, there will always be a human face in all of them. And I can give you a clear example of one of the experience I've had some years ago, when we had to recruit somebody, and my manager there tell me, I did an examination of the person. I reviewed some of the so-called skill the person had, and I discovered that this person does not have what it takes to take that responsibility. And one of the statements my manager made to me was that you don't know who will be at the discussion of your next level. So you need to do some certain things. And why was he saying this? Because that person that he want us to take was coming from a certain human being whom we can call an informal manager within the system. The person wasn't there, but he has a kind of a hold on the top. So most of the time, they want us to do some certain things because of the perceived benefit that they believe that you will get at the end of the day. But now you now need to put down, one of the things I tell people, that you now need to manage your managers so that whatever decision that you will take at the end of the day, they will all align with you. And it was so forceful about it. And I said, thank God that the HR person was also in line with some of the things that we saw. So what we now did was to bring that person into a panel of interviewer. And at the end of the day, what I saw, what I perceived was the conclusion of the whole matter. So it is no longer me who is trying not to do some certain things, but is the performance of that particular person. Yes, it's happened that people will want to help some people because of some certain personal things that they have done. But at the same time, we also need to be very careful in terms of managing that process to ensure that at the end of the day, we are not too seen as opposing, but we are seen as balancing things. But sometimes it can be very, very difficult I need to be very clear, it can be very, very difficult. So we are now need to know how do we now play, because in every organization, there are politics, in every organization, there are all kinds of bureaucracy that you need to manage to ensure that you get the best result, you get the best thing. But even in the midst of that best result, there's always, is it a -2 or a -1 error that you still need to allow to go through? So at the end, you know what you are doing and you know what you want to achieve at the end of this. So it's a whole lot of things. So that issue will continue to exist. Like Mr. Oluwafemi has said, before we were born, it was there. While we are here, it will be there. When we have gone, it will continue to be. But it's now how you, when you find yourself in the midst of all that, how do you manage the situation to get yourself out? And that's on that side. Say, on the first question that you raised, let me just quickly say this, that in every usage of AI, one of the things that I believe that every organization needs to do now, which is not happening, is there must be a governance structure in place in the usage, in the ethical usage of artificial intelligence. Like our guy said, artificial intelligence is supposed to help us. It's not to take our responsibility. It's just that some of us, we are so lazy about it now. We will get some information, we use it to do our research, to get information, and instead of us to review what we have got to, we submit it the way it is. And I can tell you for free, based on my experience, that the information you get on the AI platform, some of them are not correct. So that's where the human leg needs to come in and play the huge role to ensure that whatever you get at the end of the day, they are the ethical information. That's why we need to implement what I would call an ethical AI solution in every organization that is not biased, and then we train our data to ensure that we get the right data out of it at the end of the day. Thank you very much. That's the little I want to say.
Thank you very, 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 very much, sir. Right? Thank you very, very much. Who else wants to add it, to who else feels like, drop in 1 or 2 cents before we call it a day? Right? So that's it from everybody, right? We can see, I'm happy that at least we're able to get more insights from, everybody on the call, at least to bring it back home so that at least we understand everything on a granular level, right? So on that note, if we don't have any question, is Messi on the call? Is Messi on the call? Can I stop sharing? All right, I think we can call it a day. Is anybody from Transformation College on the call? Anybody from Transformation College on the call? Anybody? Damilola, anybody from Transformation College? All right, then I think I can just, close the session. And I want to believe that, every information has been passed across initially.
Yes, I have been trying to say something. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, Mercy. That's not it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Omo. Thank you so much, Mr. Jackson. I really appreciate your input. I was trying to connect things, but I'm sorry for that delay. All right, Mr. Femi, thank you so much for an excellent delivery of today's class. I enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you so much. Please a round of applause to him. Let's appreciate our trainer. He's been on the call since the 10 up till now. Thank you so much. Okay, so as usual, the class material is going to be sent to you immediately after the class, and then the recording will be sent by next week to you. So you should be anticipating your last test for this session in the coming week. So the information is going to be sent to your group. All right, please do well to take your test. And then the examination is going to be coming up by next year. We are done for this very semester. So we are just anticipating exams coming up next year. Every information regarding this is going to be sent to the group. So please, there is, if you are yet to fill up the attendance form, attendance is on the chat room, as well as the feedback. Like I would always say, your feedback helps us to improve on our service delivery. All right. Thank you so much for always standing by. Thank you so much for always standing by. So without further waste of time, please follow us on all of our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and talk about Transformation College. We love you, and we say a very big thank you for always standing by. From here, I would say a very beautiful weekend to you all. Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Mercy, my hand is actually up. I want to ask a question.
Oh, so sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, about the test. I'm not too sure if a number of us we've taken all the tests. If there is a way you can confirm to us how many tests has been taken so far, so that we can also check our record to know if we have done all the tests, or maybe there's something lacking that we've not done, so that we can cover it. Because that's breaking that you guys had that, oh, one class has not finished, and then we do the test the following week. So we lose. I mean, for me, I lost a thought of the whole process. If there's any testing between that period
Okay.
that I may have missed, so that we can all balance out the entire thing. Thank you very much.
Okay, to answer to the question you just asked, following the timetable, we are supposed to do, I think, 12 courses. Yes, 12. So this is the 12th class, meaning that we've done 11 tests already. We did one for this week. So we've done 11 tests already. So this last one is for today's class. It's going to be taking place by next week. I don't know if I've answered your question, sir. Hello, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, you've kind of, but okay. I'm not too sure if
okay, maybe you will chat me privately, right?
Okay.
On WhatsApp.
I will check what I think I've done, and then we'll close it from there. I know the one for this week. I've done it, so I don't know if there's any other one missing. So I will also check my record while you do your own checking. I mean, this just for not just about me. I'm very sure some people might also be confused about the whole number of tests and all that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's not a problem, sir. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye.